Okay, oh, there is one person already. I'm very impressed. I'm gonna share my Moncherie with you. Oh, there's 4 of you already. Wow. Well, given my rather lengthy absence, I thought I'd go in a minute early just to see if anyone was here. And 4 loyal henchmen. Well, quite a bit of news. Hello, Curdle. One of the reasons that I've been absent for so long is that the powers that be have obviously tried to wipe me out. Okay, a little quiet. Is that better? See if everything's plugged in. Audio off? No. Okay. Hello, Douglas. Is this any better? Could be that something's not plugged in properly. Let's see. Audio's very soft. Okay. Haven't changed anything. Let me see that it's all plugged in properly. A bit quiet. Okay, I don't know. I've got it all connected in the usual way. Let me just... Still dog shit. Oh, okay. I don't know. I could... let's see if I take it out. Worse. This is just using the computer speakers, which should be worse, but I don't know. Seems like maybe something... this could be... Okay, let me try something else. Okay, how about this? This works. Okay, that worked better because I'd unplugged the... Okay, I'd unplugged the speaker. I think there's a little bit of a delay. Let me close a few things here. Okay, I don't know if it's better now because I've fixed the issue. Okay, so no, I think there's a little setting on the microphone, and I don't know, maybe one of the kids like touched it or something, and it's got like a... Okay, it looks like, well, there's quite a few of you. Thank you all for telling me about the sound. I appreciate that. Okay, good. So it seems that we've fixed some new people. Well, Sir Hamster, hello. Well, so yeah, a few things have happened. As you guys know, I think in January I got the coof. I got COVID, which did a pretty good job of trying to kill me, but failed. And then I had kind of like long COVID for a while. I wasn't able to do the same stuff I was out of breath a lot. And then about a month ago, or let's see, where are we now? May? Yeah, probably more than a month ago. I went to visit a friend's place. We went to a friend's place, and then I walked home with my daughter in the evening. And I don't know if it was that, they were a little bit sick or whatever, or if I was just run down. But I got a full-blown pneumonia. And when I mean full-blown, I mean that at first I was like, it's just a coof again. I'll struggle through. I know how to deal with this. And it was just getting worse and worse and worse. I got really high fevers and stuff. And then I couldn't actually breathe. I was coughing up, spitting up all sorts of lovely Chetulian things. And But the thing is, I ended up not being able to sleep because I would fall asleep for like 5 minutes and then I'd wake up like, like, you know, like no oxygen. And so after 2 days of that, you know, my brain wasn't working very well to begin with the fever and all that. And then like not sleeping for like 2 days. I was like, man, I need a doctor to come check me out, and I'm in no condition to drive. So, you know, we got kids and stuff, so my wife couldn't take everybody, and I didn't want to hang out with the kids really because I didn't want to infect them or whatever I had. So, doctor came in a full hazmat type suit with like a double mask, a shield. Literally, she looked like one of those guys from a CSI unit, you know, when they go and collect evidence. But she was very good, and she checked me out, and she goes, "Dude, you've got pneumonia. It's in your lungs. You know, you're like bad. Do you want me to call an ambulance now, or do you want to wait till tomorrow?" And I was like, "Well, I haven't slept in 2 days, so might as well do it now." So they came and get me with an ambulance, shoved like a bunch of oxygen on me. And the oxygen helped a lot because I just wasn't getting enough air in. So they took me to the hospital, hooked up to the oxygen, which they kept me hooked up for. They did a bunch of like weird COVID. I was like, look, I've done a COVID test. And, you know, I know they're all bullshit, but whatever, these people need their thing. And it's negative, there it is. And she's like, oh, well, at the hospital, test you again. So they tested me again at the hospital once. And then they said, oh, but we need to do the molecular test. So they tested me again. And I'm like, it's not fucking COVID. And it wasn't, of course. Then they did x-rays. They saw like, yeah, no, you got a full-blown pneumonia. And then they gave me a shitload of medicines, some antibiotics. And eventually, you know, my wife managed to come get me from the hospital. And so I got back home. And I was pretty much out of it. You know, I was pretty bad shape. So I didn't read all the papers. Usually I read all the papers because, you know, there's no difference between a doctor and a janitor in my mind. So, but after you know, I got better for about a day or two. And then like, I was like, nah, this is not cool. I'm still not right. So I forced myself to read these damn leaflets, which I always generally do. And I was like, wait, what? This thing is to inhibit my protonic pump in the stomach that produces acid? Why do I need this? And they're giving me like ibuprofen, like 600 milligram ibuprofen every 12 hours. Like, why? Yeah, I don't have a fever anymore. What the hell? And then they were giving me some other thing to counter the fact that the other medicine was going to mess with my insides. Then they were giving me some kind of probiotic thing to counter the fact that, you know, the ibuprofen and that was going to mess with my insides. And I was like, man, I don't need any of this shit. I'm just stopping all this. And then I read what the antibiotic they were giving me, and I was like, wait a minute. Maybe that's why I'm feeling like I'm trembling inside, like my whole inside is shaking and I'm not getting better. I think this is the stuff that I reacted to badly like years ago that was never like checked out in a hospital, but I think I'm allergic to this stuff. And, you know, it's a pretty common antibiotic. So I called up my local doctor, which is the one which, by the way, she had sent one of her people to like do the home visit. And she was like, when I read out the things to her, she goes like, what the hell are they giving you that for? Don't take that shit. No, what are they giving you that for? Don't take any of that. Just throw all that stuff out. And your antibiotic, yeah, I know you could be allergic to that. No, I'll change it. I'll give you another one. And I was like, okay, but don't you have to like give me a prescription? She's like, don't worry about it. You just go to any pharmacy, you know, I'll send it to them, whatever. It doesn't matter. You know, just go there. They'll give it to you. And I was like, okay. And I managed to drag myself, you know, to a pharmacy. I actually drove myself there with my daughter to like help me out, and picked up this antibiotic. And, you know, it's Italy. I was like, look, this is the number of my doctor. This is my like health insurance card or whatever. It's like, do you want to call them up just to insure? It's like, no, it doesn't matter. Like, but don't you need a prescription for this stuff? No, you're sick. Don't worry about it. Here you go. Don't worry about that stuff. Like, okay then. You know, I guess I looked bad enough. So I took that stuff, took 5 days of that, and it was a pretty hectic antibiotic. So it messed with my stomach a bit. But it killed whatever needed killing. And but the thing is, for like about at least a week afterwards, after I finished the antibiotic, I was like, I wasn't able to do much. I was just like able to like stand up, go to the toilet, eat, fall back down, sleep. That was basically it. And I couldn't even read a book or anything. I was like pretty mentally also just like kind of done. So it was a pretty hectic sort of thing. And then, this is about 3-4, maybe a month ago now. And then I just like, there's so much stuff I need to do. And luckily one of the loyal henchmen was also here to help me out. But there's a lot of stuff going on in the background. So I did put a little few bits here and there that I could, like online stuff, and he did quite a lot. So there is a digital, the Kurganet.com, I think it is. I'll try and put the link after I finish the stream, which is sort of a repository for everything we're trying to do, with like links to. There's a forum, so you can go there. There's a link to Say the Social, which is like a social group, I guess, a kind of like, I wouldn't say Facebook, but it's sort of like a forum for sedevacantists to like meet up and talk from all over the world. It translates languages for you. So if you go on this, I'll bang the link in the chat now for the Kurganet, which I think that's just it. The Kurganet.com. Let's see, the Kurganet. Big fat donate button right at the beginning, because I didn't do the website. The very most loyal henchman did that. And there it is. There's the link. And I have got some donations, which we appreciate, because what we're trying to do here is not just digital stuff. I mean, the digital stuff is sort of taking pride of place at the moment, just because it allows to reach a wider audience and it spreads the word and so on. But we're actually trying to create a physical community here of sedevacantists. And it's slow work, but it's definitely doable. I've managed to overcome most of the crap that I was left with by the guy who sold me the property. And now it's just a matter of that it takes, unfortunately, quite a lot of money to set this thing up in a way that is, something that people from all over the world, because it's not just for Italians, it's like the idea is to build a community that has schools, that has doctors, that has everything in it, so that you can just, hey, the rest of the world can do what they want. We're just going to build a nice big fence with some towers and we're kind of done. There are also some avenues that I'm looking at, which is beginning to explore potentially starting some kind of political route. There is one of the politicians here in Italy, but I mean, they're all scum, and I don't know that I will last 5 minutes trying to do this, but there is one guy who's basically, his platform is based on Ital Exit, which is a start, I don't know how real or fake it is, but I'm gonna go check them out this weekend. They've got like some gathering or something, so I'll go see what that's like. And there are people from overseas now, some of you guys, maybe some of you in the chat as well, that are considering moving close to here and buying property here. We're looking at the avenues to make it easy for somebody who wants to do that. There are various avenues. You can get sort of instant residence if you have an income that's like 30K a year or more, something like that. That is from sort of, let's say, passive income, either like, I don't know, if you're retired or if you've got like shares in something that coughs up money. It shouldn't be like an active kind of job, or you can set up a company. We're looking into, there's a possibility of setting a cooperative, which allows people to legally, move here, work here, be part of the cooperative, and therefore have a stake in it. So it's, we're trying to do physical things in the real world. So if I don't appear so much on streams and so on, it's not because I'm just sitting there like coughing up a lung. I'm all done with that. My lungs have regenerated, being a Kurgan. One side effect is that, I'm a little bit headstrong. My wife gets sort of worried sometimes because I'm like, fuck it, I'm just gonna carry on. And she's like, you need to lie down. Like, but I don't know if it's the right thing or not, but in my younger days, definitely when I was like injured or something, like you just work around it. This is not like a broken bone, which would be fucking nothing. I would gladly have a broken bone rather than all the crap I've been through in the last few months. And unfortunately, this is the busy period. We're supposed to prune the olives, plow the fields, do all that stuff. I don't have a tractor. It's one of those things that I can't afford at the moment. There's better things to, well, not better things, also learn to make it self-sufficient, which eventually means farming. And I'm not great at that, but we've got enough olive trees here to produce enough olives and olive oil to certainly last a few families every year, the whole year. Now you're not going to live just on olive oil and olives, but it's enough to take some costs. Or if you sell it, it's by the way, the oil from this region where I am, it actually won that. I didn't know anything about this. Just like randomly in the newspapers, it was they advertised it on like a local, I don't know, Facebook. No, it was I don't know. My wife found it. She saw it. She was like, "Hey, what's that?" And I was like, "Oh, it was a news agent maybe." And yeah, so our olive oil is the best in the world, and it's unfiltered. So you could probably easily sell that stuff at like $50 a liter or something, because it is the best in the world. So there is a little bit of income potential from that, but there's a lot of work to be done. I didn't have, literally I couldn't physically prune all the trees. I hired a guy to do about maybe, not, I don't know, maybe 1/8 of the trees that we have. Tried to pick in the best ones, but it's late now for pruning, so it's kind of a wasted year really, because in the peak time I was very ill. So anyway, that's one of the things. The other one of the things is, as you all know, there's this little game I made, which I've revamped. This is the rule book. Okay, there's a link in the description of this video, so you can go get the rule book, and you might recognize that handsome man. I know you're all looking at the woman on the cover, but that handsome dude, I mean, come on. And I've had a little bit of a revamp because I was doing the module, and I fixed a couple of, there was a couple of spelling mistakes, about maybe 3 or 4, and just laid out a little bit better, so some of the images inside are a bit bigger now than they were. Same pages, no change in content, just tweaked a little few things. So if you were one of the early adopters, you've got like the original with a couple of mistakes in it. Which, some people get pissed off by that. I'm quite partial to that sort of thing myself. If I get a book with a quirk, I'm kind of like, hey, I got the special one. And there's a module out. I don't have a physical copy of the module myself yet, because it literally just launched on Amazon. But if you, again, I've got the link for that in the thing. Now, the thing about this role-playing game, I promise you, it's nothing to do with me living off the earnings of a role-playing game, because the amount of money I make on each sale of the rule book is a little bit expensive. It's like $28, but it's because it's full color. It's got full color, quite a lot of artwork inside and on the cover and so on. So, and I make about like $4 something, I think, on the rule book, and on the module's black and white inside with artwork, and it's $9.99, and on that one I'm making like, I think, $2, something like that. So it's got nothing to do, I'm not gonna be able to live off that or anything like that. The point of making this role-playing game is that it is kind of a training session. It's like war game. There's a reason that all the militaries on the planet do war games, because they work. So this is kind of, a way for you, first of all, to meet up with your friends, to have fun with like friends in presence, face to face, which is something that people don't do anymore. It's all online. It's all like, no, get together with your friends. It doesn't matter if you're 50-year-olds and you're going to play a game throwing dice, or if you're 20-year-old doing it. you know, if I had the time, I'd still play with friends. It's fun. It's funny. You know, obviously as an adult or an older person, you can play it more seriously or you can play it more funnily. You know, it's up to you. But the thing is, you definitely get a lot of laughs doing it. So it's a good thing because it promotes camaraderie, friendship. You know, some laughing, whatever. But it's also a way for you to model scenarios. You know, you can actually, you know, like the Japanese samurai says, like, practice imagining all sorts of different scenarios so that when they happen, you're not just like caught flat-footed. That's really the purpose of this game. It's change the zeitgeist, you know, from like, oh my god, everything is terrible, we've now got the monkeypox, we're all going to be locked in and dying and starving and becoming slaves of Carl Schwab or whatever. You know, make it fun. Make it fun. Make it something that you laugh at, and make it something that allows you to laugh at them. Make them ridiculous. Remember, that's a powerful weapon. So that's the little news that I've got for now. Let me just quickly catch up because you guys have been, in the meantime, firing quite a few messages, which is good. If you've got any questions, stupid or otherwise, fire them on because I'm in a happy mood. So I want to, you know, make it fun for you guys if you want. Quite a few faces I haven't seen in a while. Sam Wereb, Pedro Rocha, hello. Okay, quite a few comments about the audio. We've passed that. Sounded okay. Trying to kill you is how Corona-chan shows love. Yeah, indeed. Well, I'm very loved by the powers that be. And, you know, another thing I've been looking at is the chemtrail stuff, right? And there's a brilliant little meme I just saw, which is like, chemtrails is just a conspiracy theory. And then there's a picture of these planes like spraying stuff, and it goes, planes spraying Agent Orange in Vietnam. And it looks pretty much the same. And the weird thing is that my wife notices, like, there was one day was just like crisscrossing all over the place. I'm like, we're in the middle of nowhere. Who the fuck is spraying this shit like here? Why, you know, like, it's global. They're really trying to do it all over the world. It's quite a thing, you know. Cordell says, it's too bad Western medicine is so converged and evil now. I've heard some of the rates of survival that the Spaniard hospitals had even in the 1700s is astounding and rivaled modern ones. Yeah, look, you know, there's something else that a Chinese guy told me many years ago. I was driving in a car with this random old Chinese dude who had gout. And I was like, oh, you know, why don't you take some medicine? He goes, oh, medicine? Why? What medicine? Hey, all medicine come from herbs. Anyway, I have Chinese medicine. I don't need Western medicine. And I was like, wait, but... No, wait, actually what he says makes sense. Fuck. It's true. All medicines comes from some kind of herb or whatever. Now, admittedly, with the pneumonia I had, I'm very glad there was a different type of antibiotic that killed it off. And you know, I know there's a lot of people saying, oh, there's no such thing as disease, there's no such thing as viruses or contagion. Well, that's bullshit because, you know, if you go some guy's place who's like sneezing the shit out of himself and it's not, you know, and it's a flu, it's not like allergies, because I gotta take my hat off, man. The most loyal henchman here is he's too cool. He's one of these, you know, unfortunately weaker men that get allergies, but he was cutting grass, chewing down thorns with a trimmer, like, and he'd come in like weeping, you know, it's like red eyes, and like, it's like he looks like he's just been through a chemical attack in World War I without a mask, and he's like, yeah, I'll just take some antihistamine, I'll just get back out there. You know, it's just like, well, that's yep, that's definitely a crusader material. But you know, so didn't matter how much snot was coming out of him. It was his allergies that not going to affect me. But you go to a guy who's got a contagious flu and you're going to get sick. You know, it's not. So don't believe everything you read. Just because it's on the internet doesn't mean it's true. You know, it might not be exactly how they say how viruses work, but antibiotics work. Okay, and I've always known that. It's not just now because I've had a few instances in my life where antibiotics definitely saved the day. So I believe in that. I also believe in that, what's it called? That purple, it's like alcohol, it's like methylated spirits, that's it. And, you know, I know you can get surgical spirit, which is basically the same thing, but without the purple stuff, but I want the purple stuff. Now, the purple stuff is an extremely toxic substance that they put in, so it gives it the color purple, and it gives it an absolutely vile taste that you can't drink, so that hobos and, you know, people who just drink the spirit alcohol aren't going to drink it, because it's going to be bad for you if you drink, you know, the surgical alcohol. But I also think that purple stuff is toxic enough that it kills everything. Because if you get a bad cut, you know, like whatever, scratches and stuff, you know, as you work on a farm, you get little things. I just slap that stuff on, it burns, kills everything, dries up, next day I'm fine. But some little injuries, you know, you get one of these nasty little thorns that like hooks into you, and then you have to like dig it out with a knife or something. And you leave that alone and you don't do anything. You basically rot, you know, it starts to get infected, it gets raw, it takes a lot longer. You put that stuff on it, dry it down. Now, my wife, of course, being a heretic savage of, unfortunately, you know, I married below my station. I'm a nobleman and went and married to a peasant girl, but she's like, nah, I don't need that stuff. My body just heals by itself. And it kind of does. So, you know, maybe there's placebo effect there. I don't know. But whatever, you know, what works for me works for me. What I'm saying is methylated spirit and antibiotics. Oh, and of course, a lot of guns with a lot of ammo, because, you know, that destroys the other parasites that try and get you sometimes. But, yeah, Woolly Ram, hello. It's been a while. Yes, it has. Bob says, for what it's worth, I know people don't trust vaccines, but got pneumonia as bad as you describe every autumn until I got the pneumonia vax 6 years ago. Haven't had it since. Don't miss oxygen and antibiotics every autumn. Well, there you go, Bob. I don't, you know, the original vaccines, I don't know, you know, maybe, I think that's definitely was not there at all when I was a kid. And you know, there's a lot of things that we didn't need. You know, we didn't absolutely. There's stuff now that, you know, kids took quite a lot of them. You know, like the one that gives you a little scar on the arm there or whatever. I forget what it's for, smallpox, I think. I can't remember. Anyway, they gave it to me 2 or 3 times because there was no reaction. I was like, oh shit, you're immune to it. I'm also like immune to malaria and a bunch of other stuff. I don't know, just weird. So yeah, I think maybe the original vaccines did something, but the way it is now, it's completely, I don't trust anything of what they want to inject in you. And the doctors and the nurses don't know what they're injecting in you. When my daughter was born, they wanted to give her the vitamin K thing, and I'd researched that, and I thought, no, you're not giving her that. And they're like, oh, you know, but this MMR is really safe. I'm like, what are you talking about? That's not a vaccine. It's a vitamin K shot. You don't even know what you're injecting into the babies that you think you're saving. You know, it's fucking retarded. So yeah. Wooly says, olives, chickens, garden vegetables, clean groundwater. If you can defend it, you are sitting pretty. Yeah, olives I've got. Chickens is the next thing I'm looking at, but you know, I need to build a chicken coop or something, and again, one of the million things I need to do. Garden vegetables, we have planted some stuff. I seem to have the black thumb of death with anything except cactuses, so I sort of did my best, and we'll put some water on it and hope it works. But yeah, I think it'll be a while before I can feed my family from just planting vegetables. Again, also because to do it, you know, properly, I need a decent tractor. You know, doing it by hand, which is, you know, we've got this little patch that we've put behind the house that we're doing that on, and I've fenced it off so that because you know, we've got wild boar here, and we got bucks. I don't know what the description is in English, what type of buck. I know the word in Italian, but capriolo, they're like little Bambis, basically, you know, Bambi, and we got like little Bambis, and we got like wild pigs, you know, boar, that dig up everything and eat everything and destroy everything. So the little patch I've fenced off. But if I was going to plant, you know, a decent amount of stuff, then I'd probably have to fence that off or do something. There's little things that make noise that scare the pigs that sound like gunshots. But I don't really want to have that noise going off every 10 minutes on my so I don't know, you know, problem for another time. And also I need more people, because put it this way, if I had, instead of one loyal henchman now and then, if I had 10 loyal henchmen, they were like, right, we're just going to work the land like peasant farmers from the 1400s, we'd probably make a good go of it. You know, just using scythes, don't even need a tractor. Well, we've got a little rototiller, which works pretty well. And that would probably do the job, you know. If you've got enough petrol, a rototiller and a scythe to cut down the grass, it's going back in time in terms of farming methodology. You know, instead of using an oxen, you use the rototiller, about the same. I think the rototiller is probably easier. And I reckon if you had 10 men working the land properly, you could do all sorts of things. You could fence off the whole area, you know, which is a few hectares, so not an easy job. You could plant stuff properly. You know, you could have some people tend to it every day so that the vegetables you plant grow. You could have people looking after the chickens, rabbits, pigs. You know, you could have a lot more stuff going on because there would be somebody dedicated to looking after it. In terms of water, I actually discovered we've got a little well to capture rainwater, apparently, which has an electric pump in it, but it's been sealed up. So I just need to cut the concrete open and find out what's going on in there and see whether it's worthwhile to reuse, clean it out, reuse it as some sort of rainwater catchment type thing. But who knows what they're putting, you know, if they're chemtrail spraying everything. Maybe you need a reverse osmosis filter, which is another expense, and another, do they really work? You know, there's a lot of what ifs. You can't prevent everything, you can't predict everything, so you know, you just do the best you can, and that's where I'm at. Noventilion, hello. Sam Werab says, had almost the same COVID experience as you this year. Did you get a brain fog afterwards? Yeah, definitely. I've had brain fog, still have some brain fog. I'm not operating at the same level I was, but it's hard to gauge whether that is COVID or the fact that I've got a bunch of different things going on, physical, mental, you know, financial. There's a lot of moving parts. At any given time, I'm probably only getting 60 to 80% of the things done that I want to get done, if that. Some days it's 40%, some days it's none. So that kind of stresses me out because I'm built in a way that I tend to ignore the successful things and focus on the things that don't work and keep pushing those, which is wrong. You know, it's not a right attitude to have. It's okay to have that attitude if you have a limited number of things that need doing that can get done within the time and possibilities that you have. But if you have that attitude when you have an impossible number of tasks, you just stress yourself out. So I am modifying my own approach to things, my own mental way of doing things. So there's a lot of stuff going on at the same time. So, and you know, by the way, I'm sharing this stuff with you guys in the hope that if some of you are going through the same thing, you get some benefit out of, you know, my having gone through it. Maybe it helps you guys. So yeah, definitely brain fog, yes. But you know, also we got 4 kids. There's a lot of things going on. My wife still doesn't speak the language to the point where she can really do very much other than shopping and so on, you know. So any of the bureaucratic crap that has to go on, I have to take care of. There's a lot of bureaucracy in this country, so stupid stuff, you know. Sometimes it's just whatever the school board needs to know X or Y, or you get some form that you have to fill in for, your land tax, you know, just stupid crap. But it's all time consuming. It's all delays other things that you want to do. You know, I'm looking at doing little experiments. You can see here. I'm not going to tell you what it's about. Some of you will know. You know, there's a little Thomas Townsend Brown cell that I'm trying to build here just to see if it works. And you know, there's books that I've got which I want to read that I can't get to. I recently bought one which I'm reading a few pages every night before I pass out, and it's the biography of a guy who was on the Eastern Front, Belgian guy, whose name I forget at the moment and whose book title I forget. But it's very interesting because the story of this guy, who was a Belgian minister, he was 29 years old and he was already like a parliamentarian or whatever, one of the youngest ones ever. And then Germany took over Belgium, Poland, and all those countries. And he was like, well, I didn't want to try and throw in with the Germans because you couldn't really tell what the hell they wanted. And then I could see all the old guards, still corrupt. And he got like 11% of the vote of the people in Belgium by his platform was like, we're tired of all the corruption, of all the scumbags and all these like thieving dogs. So same as we are now. And on that platform, he got, you know, enough votes to sort of be a parliamentarian. And then when the Germans came and took over, he was like, well, I don't want to, the old guard guys are all trying to make deals with the Germans, but they're really dealing with second-tier people because nobody really knows what the German wants. And even King Leopold got an audience with Hitler, came away from it, and still didn't. He discusses how Hitler basically tried to avoid having a war on two fronts for a long time, but then it was inevitable because the Soviets were like piling up, and so he decided to attack first. And at that moment, he said, that's when I volunteered, because I thought, okay, this is how I can secure a future for Belgium, because we will fight for Germany, and as the whole blood and honor thing of the Nazis was, but I'm going to secure that the fact that after we've done that, Belgium will be like, you know, back to Belgians, and we will be on the side of the winners or whatever. And he goes, and then, you know, we lost the Germany lost the war, but they could have just as easily won it. It was a pretty close call, and he said, and now, you know, of course, we're vilified because he became, he was in the Waffen-SS. And when he volunteered, not just himself, but he volunteered a whole bunch of people that were with him, all young guys from Belgium, the Wallonian platoon or whatever it was. And they basically said, well, okay, you can join as an officer since you're the leader. And he was like, nah. I'm going to be a private. And then he worked his way up the ranks back to an officer. So it's like pretty, you know, whatever you can think of the guys, it's pretty ballsy. And another thing he points out, he goes, well, all the German records have been captured now. And you can see that there's not so much as a scrap, not one sentence, not one word of us having collaborated with the Nazis in any way before the attack on the Eastern Front. That's the only time that I volunteered. And the only reason I did that was, you know, to secure a future for my nation. And that's as far as I got in the book. So I'm curious to know and see how he sees what's going on. I just got to the point where they traveled for like 17 days, 40 men to a car in a train to get to the front. And all the way through Ukraine, they were like, well, nothing really is going on here, you know. And then they get to sort of the front, and he says the thing that destroyed us was the mud, you know. It wasn't the Russians. They were like running away like rabbits. But it was the front, the mud, the winter mud. That's what killed us. And if you don't understand what it's like to be in like waist-high, clingy black mud that stinks like sewage, you know, then you don't understand why you can't take over Russia in winter, you know. So, very good book so far. I'm very curious of it, but I'm trying to also read into stuff like this because we can see now the level of propaganda from all sides, and it was no different back then. You know, really, it's quite. I was quite surprised at how similar to, you know, Germany in 1939 or whatever, Europe in 1938 or whatever. We're in a very similar situation with a lot of lies flying in everything. So it's quite. Yeah, it's quite interesting, you know. I'm just gonna read a few more comments as you go. Backstabber goes, enjoying the Gab interactions? Do you feel people waking up with these ahistorical one-size-fits-all solutions, cyberbullies? Gab is interesting. You know, I recently made a comment on Social Galactic, because on Social Galactic I built up this little group, Flame Wars, because, you know, Social Galactic is a very polite area, and I thought, okay, well, the guys that want to fight about Catholicism or whatever, they can go into the Flame group. And I posted something there about the King James Bible being the Satanic Bible, because, you know, King James was gay and he started Freemasonry and all the facts that are there. And not a peep. And I was like, right, good. So Social Galactic has been conquered. It's now Gab's turn. And you know, I'm pissing off people left and right, of course, making friends and influencing people, Kurgan way. And the latest one was the pagans. You know, some idiot like said, oh, we pagans. I was like, well, you're just LARPers. And I really just went in heavy. And I was expecting, you know, there's quite a lot of these like, oh, well, you know, I'm a pagan, an Odin worshipper. I don't like the, you know, Catholic is a Jew religion, you know, Christianity or Jew lies and whatever. And so I expected a swarm of like alt retards to like come at me. Nope. Basically two guys. One got squashed after a while and the other one got squashed after a little while longer. And I was like, all right, I guess we're done with the pagans, you know? So it's, I don't know, it's quite interesting how Gab is a lot harsher. There's obviously no clean speech. And but the thing that I like about Gab is the level of awareness of certain people that move from country to country and do what they do, kind of like gypsies, but they're not gypsies. And there's a level of awareness of this group of people that is very, very, shall we say, evolved. There are still a bunch of alt retards. You know, there are the morons that are like, oh, Hitler did nothing wrong. You know, Hitler was no exemplary leader by any stretch of the imagination. But, you know, there's a few people that are starting to understand that it's also true that Hitler did not die in the bunker. The piece of skull that they have that they're saying is Hitler belongs to a woman. The body with the bullet hole in the head that they photographed as being Hitler is not Hitler, because the ear, which at the time in the 1940s, the Western people didn't know this, but the Russians did. Your ear is pretty much like a fingerprint. So the shape of your ear is very unique. And Hitler had been photographed many times, of course. So the dead body that was presented as Hitler was not Hitler. The people that said it was Hitler, that were in the bunker, were all super loyal, sworn to, you know, death before disloyalty to Hitler. They apparently burnt his body so that it couldn't be recognized. And, you know, if you read into it, it's very clear that it's nonsense. There's 2 books on it. The original, which I think is still the better one in Spanish, by an Argentinian journalist, titled Hitler Died in Argentina. I don't know if it's been translated into English. The original was in Spanish, of course. And then a more recent one in English called Grey Wolf, which is basically a rehash of the Argentinian guy's work with a couple of other bits thrown in by, I can't remember if they're British or American guys. But anyways, on Gab, there's a lot more awareness of this sort of thing. There's a lot more awareness of the gatekeepers, of the fact that, you know, Nick Fuentes is like a 20-year-old mustachioed gay man who went on a 10-hour date with a transvestite. And, you know, it is what it is. And he's very good friends with, you know, Beardson Beardley, who dressed as a woman, propositioned underage little girls, and whose wife divorced him for, you know, a black dude, and he's going on all about white supremacy or whatever. And it's like, well, guess you didn't do so well. He's also 4'0" and very good friends with Milo. And Milo, we know, is a Freemason, a pedo enabler and hider of pederasts, and a gatekeeper who was financed to the tune of millions by supposed fake conservatives. So the whole America First movement of groypers, again, they're just a bunch of gatekeepers that are going to go nowhere. But, people are still like, oh, who's going to save me? Who's going to save me? Dude, there's only one guy that's going to save you. You. And if you're lucky and you move near me and we get together and we build that community and the real shit hits the fan and you're in a lucky place and I'm in a lucky place, maybe that day I save you. Or maybe you save me, but that's it. There's no like leader on a white horse coming until the king comes back, and that's it. So you gotta get into that mindset. And I know some of you, Wooly being a case in point, is doesn't have many possibilities and whatever. If I was Wooly, my possibility, if I was him, I'd be having a go bag and making sure that I can get through the border somehow, swim out my way out of there or whatever. And, because, with this stuff, I mean, Boris Johnson, that fucking retard, I just put a video on the Kurgan Telegram channel where he's basically saying, here I am in Belfast and we've produced 20,000 of these NLAWs. That's a man-portable anti-tank weapon, essentially, or anti-aircraft weapon. And he's essentially basically saying, oh, by the way, Russia, this is the factory where there are 700 people working and we're building 20,000 of these things and we're sending them to Ukraine. Almost like if he's wanting Russia to bomb that factory, which they would be well within their rights to do because according to, again, Geneva Convention, international law, the Lend-Lease agreement that America just did with the Ukraine means that America's officially at war with Russia. So, if Russia nuked Washington, they would be within their rights to do so. Not that everybody would agree with it. I'm saying that would be a good thing. I'm not saying that. I'm just saying, if you're looking at international law, Russia has really done nothing wrong. In fact, they've been extremely restrained because it is, despite the complete shutdown of anything coming out of Russia. The only place you can read Russia Today, it's not even on Telegram now. It's on Gab. So while Gab has a lot of problems, I still think it's a useful platform. And while Andrew Torba may be a funny, weird little guy, but you got to give credit where it's due. He's achieved something that pretty much no one else has to this point. Elon Musk is definitely a full-on gatekeeper. Twitter is not going to change. And by the way, more than half of the Twitter people are apparently bots, so we're discovering. So, again, don't look for, yes, I've created the digital Kurganet, I've created the digital Kurganet videos, and I hope you guys, sponsor it, get into it, buy it, help me move here, become one of the most loyal Kurganet citizens. But at the end of the day, it's up to you. You gotta help yourself, really. Willie Ram says, while the coffee table test works on people, what smell test would you suggest for ideas? Willie, I'm not sure a rule of thumb to test for ideas and theories. I'm not sure exactly what you mean, your own or other people's, because I just played out in my head. Well, would that work? If I did that, how would that work? What are the problems? I'm nowhere near like Tesla. Tesla used to build machines in his mind and run them. And then if they worked, he'd build them and they'd work. And if they didn't work in his mind, then he'd fix it in his mind until he got it and it worked. Now, I'm nowhere near that level of intelligence or whatever, but that's basically what I do. I sort of think things, well, what if this happened? What if that happened? What would I do here? Can I do that? Would this work? And, I've been doing this since I was a little kid, honestly. I've just got one of those paranoid brains or whatever, and then I've played a lot of role-playing games, and they teach you stuff. This sounds maybe stupid or funny if you have never done it, but playing role-playing games teaches you things, real-world things, applicable things. I know it sounds silly, but it isn't. And, obviously if you're playing a game like Magic the Gathering, that's not role-playing. That's a card game. And if you're playing Dungeons and Dragons, with spells and stuff, obviously, the things that you're going to learn from that are going to be more sort of abstract and generic, like there's always a way around things. That would be a more generic concept. If you're playing a game, say like Top Secret, or the game that I've built, which is quite deadly, the combat is pretty realistic. I've actually toned it down a little bit, because the original first version of the game, the combat is you screw up, you get shot by like a decent sized handgun, you're pretty much done. Chances are you could die right away from one bullet, which is very realistic. But I thought, okay, give people a little bit more of a chance to enjoy the game, rather than like Traveler, where you can die where you're just rolling your character up. You haven't even started, and your character can die just from a character creation roll. I thought, well, let's avoid that, at least at the beginning. But role-playing games will teach you stuff. If you're playing a role-playing game that's pretty realistically modeled, and you create pretty realistic scenarios, maybe using realistic maps, or areas that you know about, or things like that, there's no reason why that won't develop the imagination to sort of think, well, how do I deal with this? Well, what would happen if that happened? Would this be a realistic way of facing off against an invading army, or whatever? If they use tac nukes, how safe am I behind a hill 3 kilometers away? Is that enough to protect me from the initial radiation blast? How long does the radiation stay in there? What do I have to have? Is a really good gas mask enough, or do I need a full hazmat suit? These may sound like crazy, stupid questions, but let me tell you, there's guys in Yugoslavia, in ex-Yugoslavia, in whatever, Kosovo, Croatia, and Serbia, that had to answer these questions from like 1 week to the next. There's some very interesting blog posts that were done at the time. Some of them are still online. I don't have links off the top of my head, but I've read them. It's very interesting stuff. So I strongly suggest, and again, it's not about me, and it's not about me making millions out of a role-playing game. I mean, don't get me wrong. If the whole world suddenly buys my zombie apocalypse role-playing game and all the modules, great. I'm not going to say no to that, but I don't expect it to become the next Dungeons and Dragons when Dungeons and Dragons first launched. It would be great if it does. It would help me make the Kurgan a lot quicker. But the main point is to help you and people like you and people like us to think out of the box. That's the main aim. So as for a smell test, whether idea works or not, think about it, and then as much as you can, play it out in the world. That's why I'm doing stupid little stuff like this. Maybe nothing will come of this. Maybe nothing. Maybe something really interesting. You got to test it. You got to go out there. Oh, well, I'm going to be like a great woodsman in case of a war. Are you? Can you hump like 30-kilo backpack and rifle or whatever in the middle of the mountains, in the snow, in winter, when it's raining? Can you? Why don't you just take a backpack, 15 kilos, and go on a hike for a week? See how that works, Test stuff out. That's vinegar's an excellent antiseptic. Basically, vinegar is a little bit like acid, so is lemon. To a certain degree, so is your saliva, to a certain degree, although your mouth can have other bacteria and whatever, but your own urine is sterile. It can work as an antiseptic. I'm gonna beg your pardon while I read a few more things. I'm gonna eat another moncherie. Yeah. Dandelion says, COVID gave my dad pneumonia. It nearly killed him. Very glad he eventually got antibiotics. Apparently that's very common. You get COVID like serious, like I got. Then you're like weakened. And then a flu or a cold or something like that can mutate into a pneumonia pretty quick. That's what happened with me as well. So yeah. Cordell says that optimal timeline video you posted on Telegram the other day was wild and interesting. Yeah, I'm trying to remember which one it is, because I post some stuff that I think is interesting, but always take everything with a little pinch of salt. But but don't ignore stuff as well just because it sounds really weird, you know. Bob says, in my honest opinion, nearly all COVID deaths were actually pneumonia and could have been treated if they weren't playing pandemic games. Yeah, I don't necessarily disagree. Yeah, a lot of, you know, it's come out now that most of the deaths had comorbidities and stuff like that, and then you get intubated when you got pneumonia. That just kills you. Has the beekeeper been back since last year? Yeah, the beekeeper's been back. The bees are busy, man. And I don't know what happened. We had like a few days of rain, and honestly, from one day to the next, it's like the grass has just grown like a foot, and there's like trees everywhere and thorns everywhere. And again, I got to clear out the underbrush in the forest now, which is what the hell, you know? So, but the cool thing is we've got fireflies again, bunch of fireflies. I haven't seen them yet because I haven't been out late. My wife saw some last night or the night before. I've been taking it easy in the evening because the guy that's been trimming the olive trees, there's all these trimmings from the olive trees, but because, you know, the grass hasn't been cut, we've only cut the grass around the trees that we want to do, because there's like hectares of like tall grass, which, you know, with a strimmer is like, that's why I need a tractor really. But tractors, I need to learn about them, and you know, a tractor with a couple of attachments is gonna run you a minimum of 10 grand. So I don't have that to put at that right now. But the trimmings of the trees, which sometimes are quite big branches and so on, usually what happens if you got a tractor with what they call a trincha, which is like a wood chipper, like a mobile wood chipper. So this guy who's looking after the property of the next door neighbor that died, he said, oh, well, look, I can pass with my tractor. If you bring the cuttings down into my field, when I come with my wood chipper, I'll just wood chip the whole bunch. And I was like, dude, thanks. That would really help me a lot. So we had like these old water tanks, plastic water tanks that come in like this metal mesh thing. So I took them out of the metal mesh, and just a water tank is not that heavy and it slides on grass. So it's like probably a cubic meter or more, probably a bit more than a cubic meter. And I just stuff it up with cuttings, and then I drag it like 400 or 500 meters onto this guy's field, and I dump it there. But you know, I can only do about, I think I did 3 loads the most, because it's, you know, between dragging it downhill and then dragging it back uphill, it's probably about a K each way. You know, each time you do one run, it's about a K. In pretty hectic heat, which I don't mind, but it does weaken you. And you know, probably if I was at my peak in my 30s or something, I could have probably done maybe 4 or 5 runs like that in a day. Now I'm doing 2. I think I did 3 the one day, and I was like finished. But you know, like when I'm done with that, I basically get home, eat, chew some food, and lie down on the bed to just rest my eyes, and I'm out for a couple of hours. So you know, you gotta look after your health, and you gotta roll with the punches, you know, do what you can do. I think the bees will be a lot more productive this year just because everything is blooming as hell. You know, we've got this pond, this like fish pond just in front of the house, and last year there was a highway of bees from the pond to up on top of the hill where the bee hives are set. There was literally a highway. If you walked, you know, from the house towards the forest, you'd have to cross the highway, and you'd get bees just like ding, 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 you know, hitting the side of your head as they were just, it's like, what are you doing? You know, what are you doing crossing the highway? This year, a couple of bees by the pond are all up there by the beehive, and they've got flowers everywhere. So I'm hoping that it'll be a good year for the bee dude. He's a really nice man. I like him a lot. But really, everybody here is very nice, super helpful. The guy that came to cut the trees, he worked like an olive pruner, I'm gonna say, not to say the other thing that will get me banned, but you know, people that prune trees, pick cotton, that sort of stuff. He worked his ass off. Young dude, cool guy. And then it turns out he thinks exactly like us. So, you know, took his phone number, whatever. But he did like 60 trees in like, I don't know, was it even 4 days? Yeah, I think it was in 4 days. He did like 60 trees. But that doesn't sound like, how big is a tree? I'm talking pretty big trees, and trees that hadn't been trimmed for like 4 years. So that takes you ages because you got to clean them out. He worked his butt off. And he was only working half a day. He was only working in the morning. And he only wanted like $3 a tree. And I gave him a bit more because he was a cool guy. He worked hard. He didn't, I told him, look, dude, if you want to eat with us or, nothing. He was just like, no, I've got my water. I'm fine. He wouldn't even take the electric clippers. I bought electric ones because after I clipped a few trees, I was like, man, this, it's tiring. I get the electric ones. I've got 2 of them. I said, look, why don't you use this? And no, I'm quicker with this. It's a guy who's probably been doing that since he was 12 or something, because he's got just the hand clippers and he's just like, chuck, 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 and a handsaw. And man, you should see this guy. He like, by the time he's finished with one of the bigger trees, there's like a little forest of like wood and chips and bits and tree trunks and stuff. He's really good. So, but the thing is here, really, honestly, apart from the guy who sold me the house, everybody I've met here has been so helpful and so, kind and generally gentle and whatever, Yeah, okay, some of them are like backed up to the max or whatever, but, Um, Bob says, health professionals, inverted commas, should be taken out and shot. Some of them definitely. Sam Webb says, this helps, thank you. Thought I was going nuts for a while. No, dude, you're not going nuts. But, there's things that help, by the way, for the brain fog and the long COVID. One of them, and I read this in a... I'm sorry, guys, I don't remember everything that I read, because some stuff is nonsense, some stuff is from reputable sources. This was from a source that I thought, okay, this has merit. And they were saying that one of the reasons that you get long COVID is because the COVID bug actually attacks your intestinal flora, your bacteria that you've got in your gut. And it basically cripples that. And so you like end up being like, I don't know if you know, but your biome, if it's called that, the intestine, the bugs you've got in your own body, they form an intrinsic part of your health. And I didn't appreciate how true this was until I was in Venice for a year, and I wasn't well. I had an excess of candida inside, one of these bacteria said, which is sugar. Sugar was the thing. And I just cut out all sugar, all carbs for like a year. And man, I got to, I lost about 7 kilos of random fatty bullshit weight that I didn't need. I got fit again. I was like full of energy. And I need to do that again, really, because between the work, between the fact that you work like a dog. So, I've never been a pasta guy, but like now, meats become very expensive. You can't just, when I was by myself getting paid stupid money, I would only eat like the top sort of meats or whatever. I can't do that with like, if you've got a huge family and you're all trying to live that way, you need like thousands every month. So it's not really sustainable. And if you're working like a donkey in a field, a plate of pasta is not going to go wrong because that energy gets used up. But cutting out on like chocolates, sweets, stuff like that, I should really do that. And I'm planning to do that. But weirdly enough, although I've been really ill up until about 2 weeks ago, I wasn't doing much. I haven't lost any weight. I'm the same weight, but I've lost a lot of fat. So it's like, I was looking in the mirror and I'm like, yeah, I'm actually looking pretty buffed up again. And I haven't done anything, I haven't done like push-ups or anything. I did for a little while, just when I was getting back to breathing properly. I was like, nah, screw this, I'm just going to do push-ups every day. But then I was working so hard out there that, it didn't matter. And I thought, man, is it in my head or what? So I asked my wife, and I said, but listen, what do you think? And she goes, no, you've definitely trimmed down and you've got muscles. You're looking big again. Like, but so the muscle has taken up the fat. I don't know. And I'm pretty heavy. I'm like 95, 96 kilos. But there isn't that much fat on me. There was probably 4 or 5 kilos of fat that I could have easily lost. And that's the most it gets with me, if I'm like not doing much. But I think that's half of that probably is gone and turned back into muscle. So it's pretty interesting. And the brain fog stuff, to get back to that, So COVID attacks your bacterial flora. And my cousin, who also had COVID and whatever, she actually visited. I hadn't seen her in like 15, 20 years. And she just visited for like a few hours because she was like passing by. She lives like a few hundred kilometers away from here. And she sent me all these um, uh, what do you call those things that, they repopulate your interior, which, by the way, just you guys have reminded me of. I need to take one. Um, so you have to do like a 12 course with one and then change to the other one, and then there's a maintenance one you take every few weeks or whatever. So I'm doing that, and I think it's doing something. It's improving. Um, but the brain fog, yeah, I'd say COVID definitely does do something, and that there's also work on that that's been done. People saying it affects you neurologically and whatever. So there is an element of that. And another thing that I found that I thought would be nonsense is dandelion tea. So we got dandelions all over the place. So we just rip off a couple of leaves, shove them in hot water, let it simmer for a bit, let it cool down a bit, and then drink that with like a spoonful of honey just to change the taste. And I don't know, that helps a lot. Apparently dandelion tea um, deactivates or something the spike molecules, supposedly. I don't know what it does. I don't know if it's placebo, but it definitely makes a difference. So take that if you want. Wooly Ram says, if it's an option, I can attest to the clarity of mind fasting gives you, but it does take a physical price. Oh yeah, no, I've done fasting. I've done fasting for like a week and so on. It does. The first day or two is the hardest. After the third day, you can carry on for quite a while. I've done dry fasts of 24 hours, 30 hours. That's a fast where you don't even touch water, you don't drink, you don't eat anything. You can go 2 days without water, but it becomes pretty hectic. And especially if if the weather that we have now, I wouldn't suggest that. Or if you've got heart problems or whatever. If you're a big dude with a lot of excess weight, fasting is going to feel tough for you. I don't know. I don't find fasting tough at all. Just drink like salt water but right now I don't really need to do that. I just need to cut out the crap because I am doing physical work, and because I'm not fully healed yet, I'm not 100% yet. I push myself hard, but it's that hard push is only 1, 2, maybe 3 hours. I mean, some days I work throughout the day, but I take it a bit easier. But if I'm carting like 120 kilos of wood inside a plastic box that I have to drag for half a kilometer downhill and then drag the empty box back uphill, and that takes me a couple of hours, that's enough. But I'm always doing odd little bits here and there. So yeah, I don't think if you do fasting properly, there is a physical price. Wooly, you gotta take enough salts, you gotta take enough magnesium, but the right type of magnesium. If you're doing a water fast, you can do a water fast for a week. And the way you're shaped, dude, you can do a water fast for probably 10 days. But again, look, I'm not a doctor. I don't know what your heart condition is. I don't know what your stuff is. You got to be careful, because if you take too many certain electrolytes, if you take too much phosphorus, I think it is, or yeah, I think it's phosphates, I can't remember. It can cause you a problem with something with your heart rate or something like that. So, be a bit careful, like study, look into it. But I found water fasting to be quite easy, really. Red Pill says, hey Kurgan, just bought Believe. Other than what's in the book, what advice would you give a young man in his 20s? Do a martial art. If you can get the Systema martial art, do that. If you can't get a Systema guy, get my book. I know it's expensive, it's like $80 or whatever, but you got videos to go with it. And even if you can't get to a Systema class, I would still suggest get the Systema book, because it'll teach you things that they won't teach you in any other martial art class. The whole point of the book was written, like most of my nonfiction stuff, to help people that, you know, didn't have access to it and didn't understand how it worked or why it worked. So I'd say do a martial art, focus on Catholicism, Sedevacantism, and find yourself a pure blood, you know, not non-genetically engineered girlfriend / wife with a view to making her a wife and having kids. Don't wait too long to have kids. You know, be as mature as you can. Be as read the Crusades of Iron Men and Saints. Learn what it means to be a full, hardcore Catholic, proper Catholic. Because the older I get, the more I study it, the more I look into it. And I'm telling you, man, you know, it's hard. Because look, even with my wife, you know, we both came from no religion at all. And very secular and very degenerate lifestyles, both of us. And so it's hard for her sometimes to, you know, she takes a little bit longer than I do to realize certain things or whatever. But the older we get, the more we carry on in this path, and the more it's like, it's so obvious that a completely full, hardcore, patriarchal Catholic family is the happiest, coolest, safest, nicest thing for everybody. And I don't mean for the man, I mean for the woman, I mean for the children, for everybody. But, you know, the whole world has taught you that that's wrong and evil, and no, you know, the woman should have her own opinions, and, you know, and it's not about being a slave or not having your opinions or whatever, but it's about, look, if I say go left, we go left. You know, I'll listen to you, I'll ask for your opinion if there's time. Sometimes there's no time, just fucking go left. And, you know, that doesn't mean you won't have arguments or whatever. And sometimes when you say go left, it's the wrong way. It happens. But the best analogy I can give you is that a marriage is very, very similar, okay? Not the same. It's analogous to. It's not the same thing. To a military regime. And I'm the captain, and the wife's the lieutenant, you know. And if the captain says we go left, you go fucking left. Now, sometimes I'll ask my lieutenant, hey, lieutenant, what do you think? What do you think about that or this or that? And the lieutenant will say, well, I really think we should go right. And I'll go, listen now, what are your reasons? Okay, well, we're going fucking left anyways. And the lieutenant might get pissed off a little bit. But if it's a good lieutenant, the lieutenant goes, no, well, it's the captain, we do what the captain says. Now, that's where the analogy ends, because also remember that the military, you're all men, so there's none of the, you know, it's like if the lieutenant goes, but I really feel you should listen to me. You're like, what the fuck are you doing? You want me to shoot you in the face? Go left, you know, because it's a man. Obviously, in a relationship, it's a woman, they've got emotions, it's a very different approach, right? Your approach needs to be different. And you can't treat your wife like you would treat your lieutenant in the army, okay? So that's not going to work. That's not don't do that. But the analogy is, you know, there is a leader, and it's very clear who that leader is. And that doesn't mean that the other person is disrespected or that the other person is not valued or anything like that. Everybody has a role, you know, again, and Catholicism, we all know that everybody has a role. I had this long conversation with my most loyal henchman about you know, types of people and who's what, and he was saying, well, you know, you can be, and he was basically kind of arguing the point that you could be both a martyr and a warrior at the same time. And I was like, nah, dude, you can't do that. You can't be both. And, you know, then we had to define terms. We discussed this for about an hour, 2 hours. It was a very cool conversation, you know, around the fire, by the way, and then dinner and so on. And I was like, look, if you understand what being a martyr type is really like, they can't go that route, because going that route is like sinful for them. And if you're a warrior type, those things that the martyr type would consider sins are like necessary things, which are not ideal, but they are when you can't avoid it. And then who's going to do that job? Who's going to do that? You know, and there's like puritanical morons that are like, "Oh, well, all you need to do is just sit down and pray." No, guess what? The Muslim hordes in, you know, the year 1100, they didn't get stopped by, you know, guys on their knees with rosaries. Now, I'm not saying that those guys didn't do their part. I'm not saying they didn't have a huge effect in the spiritual realm or whatever. Yeah, sure. But guess what? It also took 6'3" guys with like two-handed swords slashing. But you know that. If you're that type of person, you take your lashes, you know, and you're like, yeah. And that's your station in life, you know, and it's like saying, oh, well, you know, a janitor is just a shit cleaner. Yeah, and you know what? I want there to be a janitor. I'm going to respect my janitor probably certainly more than your average manager or banker, and possibly, you know, put him on the same level as a doctor. Because a good doctor, definitely, you know, that guy's on your side. A shit doctor is going to kill you. The toilet cleaner guy, if he doesn't clean that toilet and he just leaves crap all over the place and he uses the same rag to wipe the toilet that he does to wipe the glasses or whatever, he can kill you. A good toilet cleaner, dude, that guy deserves a tip every time you go into that toilet. You know, so it's your station in life. That's what you're good at. That's what you're meant to do. That's your, you know, and we're all different. There's a guy who's built to be a baker. There's a guy who's built to be a fighter. There's a guy who's built to be a lady who's built to be a nun, you know. We all have our things. So just find who you are and do that. And it's great. It really works. So I hope I've answered your question, Red Pill. If you want to find out more about being a full-on Catholic, I suggest you get the thick book, Reclaiming the Catholic Church. I strongly suggest you get the role-playing game. Get the role-playing game, because it'll allow you to play with your friends and have fun and think about scenarios. Great hook for the Belgian story. Yeah, look, it's a factual story. It's a biography. It's not a biography. It's not fiction. So Bob says, my wife would plant tomatoes and they'd thrive. I'd plant the same type in the same soil and they'd die. What are you gonna do? You know, some of us have got the Grim Reaper sitting on our left shoulder, and that's the guy we deal with. Bob. Wally Ram says, conveniently forgetting that it was Catholic monks who preserved the ancient stories and myth. Yep, indeed. Without them, Thor and Odin would have been forgotten. Yes, and the pagans hate that, because you know, I posted on Gab like the deities and demigods from Dungeons and Dragons and live action role playing with like a couple of dice. These are the two holy tomes of pagans, because there's no one is going to let themselves be killed in order not to deny Odin. No one. It's a LARP. It's a live action role playing. They're cosplayers looking for like, oh, I got a tribal tattoo and I built this Thor hammer. You know, nonsense. It's absolute rubbish. VFM Bear, hello, says too many boomers on Gab. You know what, VFM Bear, it's so what? So what are you going to do, retreat? I don't retreat from jack shit. Fuck that. So let the boomer get uncomfortable. I'm not going to be uncomfortable because there's some boomers there. You know, there's some alt retards. There's all sorts. Just deal with it. Push back. Wally Ram says, do you think the Mossad actually captured Eichmann? I haven't investigated that at all. So I don't know. I think a lot of the whole Mossad thing is a lot of propaganda going on there. I don't know what they did or didn't actually do. I don't know. Hello, Elia. How are you doing, my friend? Elia says, finished Reclaiming the Catholic Church yesterday. What an amazing book. Well, thank you very much. Please write me a review, because they help. Red Pill, there you go. Elia is just, he's also a young dude. He's pretty much doing all the things I said you should try and do. And I think he's doing very well. So yeah, you know, we've communicated privately quite a bit, and he's doing very well. And I suggest you try and follow in his footsteps. If you want, ping me an email, whatever. If you've got specific questions you don't want to put in public, that's cool. And just don't expect a very quick reply, but I do eventually get there. Dandelion says the concepts underlying the real world utility role-playing seems to come from the same source as motor imagery. The concepts under motor imagery. I don't know what you mean by motor imagery. You mean imagery in the mind as in like motor as in our physical movement, or motor as in engines? I'm not sure which way you mean that. Hello, Chad. Cordell says, would you consider doing a P.O. box or whatever the Italian version of that is? It'll be cool to send you seeds or silver, etc. Okay, I could look into it, but we know who keeps begging for stuff in his P.O. box. I'm not really into doing that sort of thing. You know, the Kurgan.com has got a donate button. You can send stuff in that respect, in terms of money, which allows me to, you know, we've got seeds here. We've got Italy has got some very, they're trying to change them now, but up until now, it's got some very stringent laws against genetically modified foods and stuff like that. So everything here is pretty good, pretty natural. We, you know, sure, I wouldn't mind getting like gold ingots and silver and stuff, but I don't have probably I don't know, maybe now I do, because apparently I don't know, I haven't seen any Owen Benjamin streams in like a couple of years now, but apparently his following is falling through the floor because of his weirdness or whatever. So I don't know, maybe I've got 2,000 followers supposedly on YouTube, but who knows. They let me go over the 2K, you know, it's weird. It's like I didn't stream for a while, and now it's like, oh, you're suddenly, you know, I was like 1950, 1952, 1960 for like a year and a half. And now all of a sudden it's over the 2K barrier. Maybe they're trying to pretend, you know, there was obviously some shadow banning going on or whatever. But anyway, yeah, I don't know about the P.O. box thing. I'll think about it. I'll see if one of my henchmen maybe wants to handle that, take care of that. That would be okay, I suppose. I don't want to deny people the ability to send me stuff if that's what they want to do, but quite frankly, I don't say everything that we're busy with, because some of it might come off or some of it might not. I prefer to tell you guys, okay, we've achieved this, we've done this now. And the next step, really, the next big step is we want to try and purchase some more land, either near or adjacent or very close by to my own, and start to really create a proper full-on mini city. So that's the idea. If you guys are interested, if you want to be part of it, if you want to just support it, ping some money through the donate button. If you want to actually be a part of it, which I'm all for, I'm obviously gonna look at sedevacantists first, or wannabe sedevacantists. You know, if you're not a sedevacantist yet, I expect you to like read it up, and you can't fake being a sedevacantist. Let me tell you that off the mark. So if you're a guy that says, "Oh, that sounds like a cool idea. I'm just gonna go along with the whole thing," you won't be able to, especially if you have a family or plan to have a family. Sedevacantists are very logical, reasonable people that are, they're not hard to, they're pretty hard to fool. You do get the occasional hardcore autists, but I would say those are guys that were like sort of puritanical Protestants that then decided that, oh, I'm going to be a Catholic, and they didn't quite get the whole picture, because actual sedevacantists understand paradoxical thinking or 3D thinking instead of 2D or binary thinking. But you can't fool a sedevacantist that you're going to be one. You can be a bad one. I'm not a particularly good one. I don't go to mass as often as I should because I'm busy, because I've got other stuff to do, but I figure, hey, if the Crusaders did mass once a year, if I managed to go once every month, that would be great. I've also got a lot of little kids that would disrupt the hell out of the whole proceedings for everybody else, so I feel a little bit conscious about that. My wife doesn't speak the language, so going to a mass for her is a bit of an ordeal in terms of she doesn't get much out of it, and it's just like screaming kids and like random people talking, priest talking a language she doesn't understand. So, and it would be difficult for her to do a proper confession because, again, she maybe would have to write everything down and translate it, and then she's not really sure what the priest is telling her. So there's, there are these hurdles, which over time they'll get less and less and less. If I had the money and the time, one of the things I'd like to do is build a little chapel. I'd like to build a little chapel with maybe even a little apartment so a priest can be full time there. And then I would be able to go to Mass a lot more regularly. So, there are a lot of things that we can do. There are a lot of things that we're thinking about. But, as usual, it all takes money, effort, time. So I'm not shouting from the rooftops what I'm planning to do, because if it doesn't come off, then, it's like people think, oh, well, I don't want to fool anybody. I don't want to... The people that know what we're doing, the people that are in the sort of closed circle, they know what's going on. They're helping. They're making strides. There are people that are overseas that are trying to organize themselves so that they can move here. They've got families. These are not just like, random lone wolf kind of guy. But again, if you read the role-playing game book, I discuss this. I discuss the types of people that you can have in this type of community, how they are, that sort of thing. So thank you, Cordell. I appreciate the intent. But like I said, thekurgan.com, that's the place to go. And if you want to support what we're trying to do, I don't know, maybe one of you guys has got a bigger following than I do, or you're better at this stuff. It would be getting a tractor would be something that would be very helpful, because obviously, keep in mind that we're trying to build a community. So if I manage to plow all my fields, it's not just for me. It's for whoever's living with us, whoever's living near us, whoever's purchased property near us. It's to feed them. And, if we have a tractor, it gets used for everybody that's in the community. If we have 3 tractors, it gets used for that. If one guy's running out of food, we get together and we give him the food, If one guy needs help with something, we all go and help with something. So it's a very different reality from how secular people live. And I don't talk about it much because, people have been lied to so long that it sounds like a con. It sounds like, oh, you come here and we'll all help each other and it's kumbaya. But it really is like that. And it's not kumbaya, because we don't necessarily agree on all sorts of things. We'll discuss theology. We'll argue. We'll tell, yeah, you're a dick because of this, and no, you're a dick because of that. But we're all Catholics, so it's like we know. Doesn't matter how bad you screw something up. You're my brother, dude. And just like in a family, like brothers, it's like you can fight with your brother, you can punch each other, but it's like, yeah, well, still my brother. What are you gonna do? He's an idiot, but hey, he's my idiot. And then 3 days, 4 days later, you let it go, and you're like, but actually he's a cool guy, and he helped me that time, and when I was sick, he did that, So no, it's a completely different thing, and that's why I insist on the sedevacantist thing. It's not like the Protestants, like, you have to be a Baptist from the east side of the river because the west side guys, they're different. It's not about that. It's about what works. Catholicism has got 2,000-year history of success. And, what people think is Catholicism now is Freemasonry, gatekeeping, satanic, pedophile scumbags. So it's, it's not Catholic at all. It's the opposite. But actual Catholics, completely different story. Caleb says he'd like to do bees one day. Yeah, I think temperamentally you're probably suited to that. The thing about bees is that it's not easy. The beekeeper guy is telling me that some years he barely breaks even. So it's not an easy task. It's not an easy job. But I think if you were doing that full time, over time, in a couple of years, also, the queen bees, they mark them with a little dot, which I didn't know. He showed me this. They last 2-3 years. So then you got to get other bees. You got to protect the queen bees and so on. It's a whole thing. But if you did that successfully, again, it's a bit like the olives, right? You would have proper honey. That's real honey. It's not fake honey, like what you buy in a shop is just molasses. It's essentially sugar. It's like fake honey. 90% of the stuff you buy in a shop is not honey at all, if not 98%. But here, the guy that's got the bees, he's pulling it out and putting it in a jar and giving it to me. It's honey. It's not some other shit. And so again, the methodology of thinking is different. It's not like, oh, we make the olive trees and we make the honey and then we become millionaires. No, you've got the honey for yourself and your little community. You've got the olives for yourself and your little community, and you all live okay. And you know what? Maybe once every 6 months you can buy a new shirt. But it's good, you know. I don't mind that at all. And if you're in that community where everybody has got 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 kids, guess what? When you're an old man, they're not going to let you die in the street because you don't have a pension and because you can only buy a shirt every 6 months. But your kids will be working the field, and your friends' kids will be working that field, and you know they'll get married with each other and whatever. You know, that's how Europe got created. You know, that's how Christendom came about. So we're just starting again. That's it. And it's a bit harder because we're ignorant of the old ways. We got to learn that again. But we've got a lot of advantages. You know, there's a lot of information. A lot of the information is lies and fake and gay or whatever. But you got to learn to sift through it. And then, you know, if you do what I'm doing, after a year, 2, 3, you learn. You learn because it's like, well, I tried to do it this way and it didn't work. Tried to do it that way and I cut off a finger because I wasn't paying attention. I better pay attention. You know, like I'm the worst guy for health and safety stuff, right? But when you're using like a little grinder, a cutter, I don't know, it's like this cutter, right? So you can cut metal with it, whatever, depending on the little disc you put on it. And they've got little guards and stuff, and it's like, fuck, I've taken all the guards off because they just get in the way. And it's like, but obviously without the guard, if you screw up and it slips or you put your hand on it, that's it, it's a finger gone. But, you know, when I use that thing now, when I don't forget, because sometimes I forget it on my head, I actually put the goggles on because it's like, look, you're doing this every day. I'm not going to lose a finger because I pay attention to that. But the day that one of those discs breaks and pops out, which they do, which they have done, one broke and hit me. I was smiling or something, and it hit my tooth. Lucky, because if it had hit my lip, it would have just cut straight through it. It just like bounced off my tooth. And I was like, ew, that was a close one. But what if that had gone into my eyeball? You know, I had the goggles. So I started to use the you know, the health and safety stuff that you should use, that you need to use when you should use it. You know, like my hearing is a bit damaged because as a kid we didn't know. You know, 40 years ago I've been shooting guns since I'm like 2 years old, literally 2 years old. My hearing is buggered, and they found that out only, you know, in the last 20-30 years. That 20-30 years later, there are some sounds that I hear that almost like a dog. You know, I'm like, what is that noise? And everybody in the house is like, what is he hearing? He's going crazy. He's hearing voices. No, there's a real noise out there that's like 3 kilometers away, and it's bugging the hell out of me. And then there's like, you know, somebody's talking to me, and I don't realize they're talking to me because I can't hear them. You know, so you got a weird kind of hearing. But you know, and you know, like I try and make sure that I remember the hearing protection and stuff. I don't care too much about the hearing protection because, you know, but like for my kids, you know, make sure if I am cutting something with a chainsaw, if one of my kids is nearby, I'll put the head things near him. You know, I say, okay, and, you know, I've got a picture of the little dude, the little Viking with a huge chainsaw. You know, I'm obviously holding it for him and whatever, but he's got his hand on the little trigger and he's like, cutting through this giant tree trunk, and he's got the full-on stuff on with his little hat in winter. Looks really cool. So, you know, you've got to, yeah, you got to keep in mind these things. Willie Ram says, back in the Old Testament, when Nehemiah led the loyal Israelites back to Jerusalem, they had to rebuild the walls with one hand laying bricks and the other on a spear haft. Yeah, well, like I say, read The Great Siege, 1565. Read that. And then you'll find out what Catholics are really about. Because 600 knights held off 40,000 Muslims who had cannons and, you know, yeah, it's... Wooly Ram says it's not prayer or action, it's prayer and action. Absolutely, yes. Read The Spiritual Combat. It's a short Catholic manual for overcoming yourself. Yeah, I'm not saying you shouldn't pray. I'm not saying that it is both, absolutely both. And generally speaking, the warrior caste slacks on the prayer, and the prayer caste or the martyr caste slacks on the doing. It's quite difficult to find a balance, but that's the aim. Have you explained proprietarianism, Kurt Doolittle's project? Guy who just pissed himself on the steps when some black guy asked him a couple of questions. Total nonsense, absolutely retarded, and the people that are in that movement are morons. Yeah. Noventalian, by motor imagery, I mean the phenomenon that imagining yourself performing a physical action translates to improved performance in reality. Oh, yeah. So motor skill, yeah, absolutely. Like, yeah, hypnosis, imagery, it does. It translates into a betterment of your motor skills. Yeah. Woolly Ram, don't underlook the utility of beeswax. It's useful for everything from lighting to waterproofing to sealing wounds. Yeah, I know that. I know beeswax is great, but he just gives us the honey, really. I don't know, I'll ask him about that. But, he's a very cool guy, and he's not making any money. I don't want to take any more than what he's offering. He says, I've almost lost both my eyes. Only that saved, only the thing that saved me was my safety glasses. There you go. Yeah, don't ignore it. I put gloves. I always thought when I was in building sites most of my life, I always thought, people that wear these like gloves, what bunch of gay. No, you need gloves. You need gloves when you're working with your hands all day, because you get a little splinter here. If you're doing it once in an odd blue moon, okay, so you got a splinter, whatever. If you're doing it every day, you need gloves, and depending on what you're doing. I've got like welder's gloves that I use for some tasks, because there's those like thorn bushes that have got blackberries on them, whatever. Those things are evil, man. That is the devil plant. It is truly the devil plant, and I hate it with a passion. But it's you got to look after yourself. You got to wear the right equipment and whatever. I am a slacker when it comes to that stuff. I'm bad at it. I take too many risks and whatever. I've always been like that, and I'm trying to change my ways a bit. But don't be like me. It's just, I'm telling you, I'm doing something wrong, so I'm trying to do better. Merg Magloromaxis says, hello, Kurgan, been a long time. Yes, it has. TVCL, I think they've done studies on that stuff. Got one group to imagine playing basketball. Yes, they have. And I can tell you, let me just finish reading the comment. One group imagined playing basketball, and the other just imagined practicing, and they both improved by roughly the same amount. Yes, they had 3 groups actually. One group that did nothing, one group that only imagined playing, and one group that actually played and practiced. And the group that played and practiced and the group that imagined playing and practicing, they improved by the same amount. So, and they had a control group. So, yeah, it's absolutely... It does work, it's real. And that's why I'm saying role-playing games matter. They matter because if you play a game and you make an adventure, and this module 0, the first module, has got an adventure that can take you down 4 or 5 different paths, depending on what your players and yourself, whatever, decide. It's funny, it's got some concept, but you can make it as real or as funny or as gritty as you want. It's up to you. You can tweak the rules and things to make it... whatever you want, really. Blue Ken XBL says, looking good. You survived the apocalypse. I've been enjoying the stream since 40 or 50. Well, thank you very much, Blue Ken. You must be a quiet lurker, because I don't remember you commenting very much. So yeah, do more. Let me know what you want to hear and whatever. Merg Maglar Maxis says, there's reasonable evidence to believe Kurt and John Mark may be feds. Kurt was very full of himself when he declared how proud he is of his role in aiding, helping the Maidan in 2014. Yeah, whatever. I wouldn't be surprised if there were government operatives. They're certainly retarded enough. I mean, they're useless. It's pathetic. I don't know. Somebody like years ago, I'm talking about at least 6-7 years ago or something like that, somebody said, oh, you should read up, this guy is really cool and whatever. And they led me to like a Facebook post they'd done. And I read 2 posts that they did on Facebook, and I was like, this guy is talking such absolute nonsense. It's not even worthwhile arguing with him. It's just like absolute shit. No reason to waste time. Dale Rowling says, ad hominem. Kurt has spent 2 decades finding civilizational solutions for humanity. What have you done? Fuck off. I've over 100 people have converted to Catholicism. You are an idiot. It's not an ad hominem. Learn how to use language before you use it. You are now banned. Ad hominem is a stupid insult for no. They're stupid. They're useless. They're complete fucking morons. It's an observation. It's not an ad hominem. Learn it. You're too stupid to understand that, and that's why you're now banned. Yep, ban Dale Rowling. I don't want any of your proprietarian bullshit here. Ah, Woolly Ram put popcorn, so beat me to it. Merck says, maybe stop talking out of your ass. I'm just quoting what Kurt himself said. Talking to you, Dale. There you go, Merck gets it. Oh, another body for the mass graves. No ventilation. You guys know me by now. I like that. Blue Ken XBL says, yes, long time lurker. Just never seen you live. Oh, well, I'm glad to have you, sir. Good to talk to you finally. Woolly Ram, the sort of nonsense your brain refuses to read out of self-defense. No, it's not even self. There's nothing to defend. They're nothing. They're literally nothing. You know that moron that, what's his name? You know, James Fox Higgins used to do a stream with this complete idiot whose name escapes me now. Also a bald guy. And it was instant hatred at first sight because, I wouldn't even say hatred. He's just pathetic. He's a guy that goes on about this Book of Urantria, which is just, I mean, the Book of Urantria make theosophists look like deep thinking theologians of the truth, okay? The Book of Urantria is that Jesus was some space galaxy dude. Look, it's not even von Daniken level stuff. It's just bad nonsense, stupid, like, imagine a retard who tries to like write something deep. That's what the Book of Urantria. And this moron, Mike, what's his name? Whatever. And he just went on about this stuff and he was trying to talk this. Nothing. He's got absolutely nothing. He is a nothing. He produces nothing. He achieves nothing. He will never achieve anything because all the foundation, it's a complete fabrication. It's like if I started telling you that, well, you know, we should base our community on the way that the Venusians lived. Yeah, excuse me? The who? The Venusians, you know, the people from Venus. There's fucking no one on Venus. It's got 400 degrees and a sulfuric acid atmosphere, and if there was somebody living there many thousands of years ago before some cataclysmic event crapped it out, no one has even a hint of knowledge of that or any even kind of legend about it. So what are you talking about? Well, the Venusians, you know, we have to use the Venusian methods to have a proper civilization. Same level. Proprietarianism, Venusians, same shit. Actually, I lie. Because there was a cartoon called Captain Harlock who had the Venusians, who were these hot chicks that were all female. And so you could have a civilization based on that cartoon, which is a complete fiction of Venus, but probably still more realistic than whatever the fucking proprietarians are coming up with. And that's my final word on it. Woolly Ram welcomes aboard Blue. Sir Hamster still here. I'm very impressed. Rolling on the floor laughing. Surprised that guy still has acolytes to crash a random stream. Well, you know, I am too, but I think they number in the handful. And I think on Gab, I think Vox basically tore Doolittle. I mean, look at their names. Kurt Doolittle. Yeah, Doolittle. Yeah. He's probably really short. And he is fat. And by the way, one thing about proletarianisms, they're going on about whatever their theories are. Guess what? Not a single one of them has had his penis inside a female human in decades. And they never will. So they're never going to reproduce. Doesn't matter whether you're secular, religious. That's it. They are a dead end. And, Vox basically reduced the guy to rubble. And I think Space Bunny made some comments as well. And I did as well. I probably laid in there. So I don't know. It might be one of his acolytes that's like, I'm just going to go and tell this Kurgan what's for. Yeah. Okay. Goodbye, leprechaun. Woolly Ram says, same. That guy was Theosophy for Dummies with a side dish of gay. Yes, Mike, what the hell is his name? But yeah, Urantian is indeed. Theosophy for Dummies with a side dish of gay is correct. Yes, Merg says Venus would roast living things. Indeed. Harlock is great. Merg, you're an educated man. You know who Captain Harlock was? You must be my age if you actually know that, because this was a manga cartoon from the 70s. Yeah, I would say 70s. I know there is a recent cartoon made about Captain Harlock, I think, which I started to watch, but then I don't have time, and the kids getting. I was gonna watch it just for nostalgic purposes, but I don't know if it's any good or not. I watched about 20 seconds of it. So. Woolly Ram says, what? I thought Venus was populated by slinky redheads. Well, no. If you've read my old blogs, the girl I call the Venusian is actually my current wife. So, worked out in the end for Captain Harlock, eh? And Captain Harlock had a thing for the Queen of the Venusians, and they always kind of fought with each other, but really, we know what was really going on there. And all she had to do is submit to the captain. That's all. TVCL Doolittle sounds like a name for a lazy pedophile. Oh my God, my most loyal henchmen. I'm so proud. They're learning to do the insults Kurgan style. TVCL Doolittle sounds like a name for a lazy pedophile. That's beautiful. I think you should put that one on Gab and make sure that you link him. Merg Megalmac says, I'm 30, but we got a lot of 80s, 70s anime reruns on a local channel, Philippines. Aha! In the 2000s. Excellent. Very good. Oh man, I wish I could. I tried to get the original Captain Harlock. I couldn't find it anywhere. If it's something that you can find, ping me an email. I'll pay for it. I'll send you some money or whatever. If you can find it on a DVD or something or record it. It was an awesome show. I would have liked to watch the whole series. I did find a little box set of Tales of the Golden Monkey. If you guys have not bought Tales of the Golden Monkey, trust me, go out there, buy Tales of the Golden Monkey. It's a little box set. And they only did one series, and it's so sad. I was like, why did that show have to end? It's full on pulp B-movie stuff, Nazis with experimental weapons and smuggling. And this guy's got a plane that lands on, one of those, I don't know what you call them, with the water pontoons, so a plane that lands on water. It's beautiful. It's the kind of world you want to live in, really, You got to shoot the occasional Nazi, get into a fist fight, smuggle some guns or stuff or whatever, in a plane somewhere in deep, darkest, random Asia / Philippines, Indonesia, whatever. It's Tales of the Golden Monkey, trust me. Paying for old anime. TVCL, please teach Kurgan how to torrent. That's true. TVCL. I gotta say, all my my most loyal henchmen are all far more adept at the technological stuff than I am. Mostly because I prefer analog, you know, machetes, rifles, wheel guns. We all have our talents, you know. But yeah, it's yeah. You know, I got TVCL as a very busy dude. He does a lot of things. He's helped me out immensely over the last few months. So I don't want to tax him anymore. I need more servants. So no, you know, the cool thing about the digital world is that we can communicate like this and whatever. The sad thing is that it's like, you know, it would be really cool if all you guys were literally here. We could like sit around a big campfire and sort of go, okay, tomorrow we're going to build a fence for Bob. And the day after that, we're going to go to Jim's house and finish painting it and patching that roof hole he's got. And then we're going to do the fence. And you know, I'm still doing odd jobs here and there and whatever. It would be great if I had like a relatively steady income that allowed me to just focus fully on the Kurganet. So, you know, you guys buying books and doing subscriptions and so on, you know, I prefer to try and give you something, a product or whatever, right, than just ask, oh, send me money. Because I don't think that's fair. You know, everybody has to do something. But we're not completely far off from that, but we're exploring other alternatives, like maybe the series that are on Kurgan TV, like making them like individual series and selling them off like as a package deal so that people don't have to subscribe to the whole thing all the time or whatever. And I know I've been really sick, so I don't know. I hope that the Kurgan TV is gonna. I'm still gonna try and aim to do all the videos I meant to do, but 4 months of illness and all the other stuff going on has definitely impacted it. We got about 80 something videos up. I'm hoping that by August we will have the remainder, but I don't know, we might be a little bit short. But you know, still, to be fair, I don't think anyone has watched all the videos that we've got on there, on all the different series, because there's 80 videos is probably like about, I don't know, a lot over like 40 or 50 hours of viewing time. So Blue Can says, if you can afford to support something you enjoy, it's better to purchase. Yeah, I've got no problem, you know, buying stuff if it's an ongoing thing. I mean, I don't know, the guys who did Harlock are probably all dead now or something, but you know, certainly I do throw money at people and things that help me out. So Sylvester Rep, 4 months, brutal. Yep, but guess what? I'm still here, and I'm not dying, and I'm getting fitter, and I'm getting fitter every day, because you know that there's just something after being ill for so long that just clicks in my head, and I'm like, okay, fuck this. I'm now going to either die, or I'm gonna become one of the fittest, healthiest 50+ guys in this nation. Fuck them. So, on another note, good evening. Good evening to you too, sir. Pedro Rocha says, well, buying the RTCs, reclaiming the Catholic Church, should help. It's on my list to buy next, so I hope you get some nice pocket change. Yeah, look, you know, the books are pocket change. The Systema book is the one that's done the best overall over the years, because a lot of people bought into it. You know, the people that have bought it know that what I write in there is real. They've tested it, they've done it, and it gives them results, physical results they can see. So with the videos and the book together, you know, I had to create like 40 videos for it. So it's $80 or whatever, 85, I don't remember now, but and sometimes they got discounts. So Amazon does their own thing, because sometimes they give it away at like 60 or 50 or whatever, I don't know. But over the years, that's the book that's done the best, because a lot of people know me from the martial arts stuff. But Reclaiming the Catholic Church, or Believe, I'm selling as cheap as I can. It's like $10, and that's converted over 100 people. Reclaiming the Catholic Church is a 530-page book. I'm probably making not much more on that book than I am on Believe, but the satisfaction there is that people start to understand the truth about Catholicism, and that that there's prayers that come with that, and if people pray for me, and that's you don't have to send money. Maybe you don't have money, maybe you can't send money. And look, if you're a millionaire, hey, come over and I'll show you what I want to do. You can see it for yourself, But if you don't have money to send, pray. I'll take your prayers. I need your prayers. Everybody, can do that. And a genuine prayer has a huge effect. I can't tell you that I'm bad at prayer, because I'm bad at asking for help, and also I don't want to sometimes, because I feel like, well, I shouldn't just pray when I need shit. That's wrong. I should pray because I want to say hi, Dad, that kind of thing. And I try and do that more. I pray for other people quite a lot. Like if I know that somebody needs something or something, I don't talk about it. I don't necessarily say anything to anyone, but I do. I pray for people, and it's I'm sure I pray for other people more than I pray for myself, probably. But that's fine. I think that's good, and prayer is very powerful. And also, I know we're how many of you are on here still? 16 of you. I know we're a relatively small community, despite my 2,000 followers or whatever. But there's people in the chat here that we've conversed. We've had hypnosis sessions. We've done things together. They've emailed me. They've asked for my help, or I've put them in touch with priests, or they've sent me money. So they've donated some cash. A good guy who's become a good friend. It was like an internet guy. I sort of showed him the Catholic stuff, and then out of the blue, he pretty much said, "Listen, dude, you've helped me so much, to understand so many things. I'm doing really well now. I want to send you some money." And I was like, "Well, I'm not gonna say no, but thanks. You don't have to." And he was like, "No, I want to." And he sent a few £100. I was like, "Dude, that's I thought you were gonna send $50 or something." I'm really quite touched. And so because of that, we talk pretty regularly. He's eventually going to move to Italy. He's just got a very good job at the moment somewhere else. And he's already got his house sort of lined up and everything, a bit further away from where I am. But that means we will see each other. We will catch up. So I know the world's a crazy place, but think what happened in the 40s. Think what happened in the Second World War. I remember the stories from my grandparents and from other people, and that's why I'm reading books about the Second World War and people that lived through it. I'm not interested in I've seen all the documentaries, I've read all the narrative books. Now I want to know, okay, I want to read something from a guy that was there. I remember the stories my grandparents told me from both sides about the war, and it's like, what we're going through now, it's like a low-level warfare, and it's more insidious in some ways, but it's certainly not harder. I mean, they were starving back then. They didn't have food. They had to hunt for food. They had to protect themselves from people that would try and steal their guns by shooting them in the face. There was stuff like that going on. We're not there. That's not what we are. So, but if that might be coming, I don't know. Who knows? And it really is important to have a little community, because if you're alone and that stuff happens, it's like you got a chainsaw in one hand, you got the little disc cutter in the other hand. They're both kind of loose, and you got no safety equipment, and you're like, "Oh, I'm trying to build a house." It's not gonna go well, Well, if there's 20 of you, one guy's got the chainsaw, the other guy says, "No, the chainsaw's loose, we can tighten it up." They've all got safety equipment. It makes it different. So I know I'm far away. I know I live in a country that most of you don't live in. But, you know, especially for those of you who are like in their 20s, you're single, maybe you got a bit of money, maybe you can get a bit of money, maybe you can find a different way to like work or live or whatever. You know, the most loyal henchmen are guys that knew me from the YouTube videos. I spoke to them for like half an hour before they decided, yeah, we're gonna move to Italy and like help you out to like do this stuff, and we want to be part of it. It's like, and to me that's not surprising, because I was like that in my 20s. I did far crazier things than that. I've moved like countries on a whim, on like, yeah, you know, I came here on holiday and it's like, I like that hill and the seaside, and I like the way the light reflects off the water. Fuck it, I'm moving here. That, honest to God, I've done that. Not once, but a few times. Changed my whole life just to like, no, I want to go live in that place. It looks cool. You know, and why not? You're in your 20s. What do you got to worry about? You know, you got to eat once a day, more or less, and sleep somewhere where it doesn't rain too hard on you. You know, and if you make a bad go of it, if something goes wrong, well, at least you'll have an interesting story, you know. So, see what. Let's see. Oh, sorry. Let me catch up with the chat a little bit. Oh, Willie Ram says, the lies you've been told is hidden gold. Yeah, that's the history series on the Kurgan TV channel. I'm trying to catch. I want to finish that series. I've got a lot of videos for that one, but you know, again, time, money, effort. I'm hoping that I'll be able to catch up on the videos, but I'm a little way behind at the moment. So. TVCL says, I tried to, but he said that hentai isn't real anime. Not the weirdest topic that's come up this year. What? Oh, hentai. Yeah. Yeah, hentai is not real anime. That's just pornography, dude. Captain Harlock and hentai are different things. Red Pill. Kurgan, long-time lurker as well. Started watching around episode 3. Very thankful for the response and the insight. Oh, you're welcome, man. Thank you so much. You know, I feel I'm starting to learn. When I was teaching Sistema, I used to get these random phone calls, and the guy would go like, oh, hi, I thought I would like to come and see the class. And I'm like, okay. So your times are like posted on your website, so could I just come along and have a look? I'm like, yeah, that's why the times are there. But, you know, why don't you put a tracksuit on and come check it out, because watching you're not really going to understand. But if you put, oh, okay, maybe I'll come along. And I was like, the fuck was the point of that phone call? I mean, you want to go watch a martial arts class, go there and just watch it, you know. What the hell? What is the, oh, maybe they're scared that they have to ask if they can watch, and like, ugh. And I'm telling them, look, just bring a tracksuit pants and a pair of sneakers or whatever you feel comfortable in, and, you know, just join in, just see if you like it. And then it took me like over a year to figure out, you know, because I grew up with martial arts, I grew up doing all sorts of crazy shit, so it never like even passed by the back of my brain that these guys were just scared. They were kind of like, oh, but, you know, you're going to hit me in the face. I was like, dude, just relax, you know, just come check it out. And I'm noticing a lot of young guys, like in their 20s, even 30s, they want to like talk to me or approach, or maybe, but they're like scared. They're like, oh, you're very intimidating. I'm like, but I'm such a softie. I'm such a nice guy. What the hell are you talking about? And they're looking at me like, well, you got a machete in your hand and blood splattered all over your body, and there's like 3 dead guys all around you. It's just a bit scary. And I'm like, no, but they were bad guys. You know, don't worry about it. Come in, have a coffee. It feels a bit like that. So, you know, don't be so shy. Also, don't be an arrogant prick, because then you won't last long near me. But, you know, don't be so scared. Don't be so hesitant. Like you gotta roll with the punches. You gotta throw yourself in sometimes. You just gotta do a leap of faith. You know, don't be stupid. Think about it. Do the best you can. But sometimes you're gonna screw up. Sometimes you're gonna crash the car. Sometimes you're gonna get with the wrong woman and stick your dick in crazy. I know all about that. You know, shit happens. But survive it. Roll with it. Try and be smart about it. Make sure you got a seatbelt on when you get in a car, because you never know. It's not like you're going to know, today's the day I crashed the car. No, so put the seatbelt on, Have an escape route. If you're in a country where you can have them, have a lot of guns. It's never a bad idea to have guns. I'm just saying, don't be too frightened about life, because look, no one gets out alive. Whatever happens in life, no one gets out alive. We all go down. So enjoy, run with the wolves while you can. Bob says, Reclaiming the Catholic Church is one of those books that if you highlight everything you might want to refer to later, you'd end up with it looking like it was printed on yellow highlighter colored paper. Thank you, Bob. That's a very, thank you. That's one of the best compliments I've heard, really. Pedro, yeah, but I already have Believe. Regarding Sistema, I'm already learning some martial arts, so that one might be one to buy later. But for now, the spiritual aspect is where I'm lacking the most. If you're lacking the most in the spiritual aspect, then get Reclaiming the Catholic Church and Sistema. If you appreciate the fact that I wrote Sistema long before I was any kind of Christian, and if you read Reclaiming the Catholic Church and Sistema together, I think that's probably going to give you as much spiritual strength as you can get from anything. And if you do the exercises in Sistema, they will work for any martial art. It's not that like, oh, Sistema is this, and if you do Sistema, you cannot do Krav Maga or Karate or Judo or Jiu-Jitsu. No, the principles of Sistema you can apply to anything. You can apply them to chopping wood. You can apply them to walking. So I still suggest you get that. And if you apply these principles, you will find that, through the body, you develop the spirit. And through the spirit, you develop the mind, and so on. Martial arts is essentially reshaping your mind and your spirit through your body. They force your body into a certain position. They put it in a certain box. They force it to do certain things, and it develops you spiritually. And Sistema is no exception. Sistema is what you'd call a soft martial art compared to a hard martial art, but I'd say that the levels of spiritual evolution that you get from Sistema are, first of all, above the spiritual evolution you get from any other martial art in my experience. And secondly, much quicker and much deeper than any other martial art I've had any experience with. So Blue Ken says, I feel like selfish prayers go unanswered. Not always, but yeah, I kind of get your intent. Wooly Ram says, yeah, my copy of Reclaiming the Catholic Church has a small forest of markers and paper slips. That's awesome. Thank you, guys. It's very kind. DVCL says, Believe seems to have more of a punch up front, but the Reclaiming the Catholic Church serves to calcify conviction. Yeah, that was the point. Believe is a quick read for the kind of donkey that I was years ago. Believe is the kind of book I would have liked to have read when I was, in my 30s or whatever. That would have had an impact. Reclaiming the Catholic Church is like, okay, after I've read Believe, like, okay, what? Like, show me about this stuff now. Give me some in-depth. And then Reclaiming the Catholic Church goes all the way down. It's the mind. It's like, what are you saying? There's gold in them there hills? And then Reclaiming the Catholic Church is the mind. It takes you right down to the, gold lines. And TVCL says to Blue Ken, where do you draw the line at selfish? Just thinking that asking for virtue or for your own salvation might seem selfish, but would be answered. Yeah, TVCL is actually right, because often when we get like, oh, that's a selfish thing to ask, is because we don't appreciate just how much God actually loves us, because we feel to some extent unlovable, because to some extent we are realistic about who we are and what we are and what kind of scumbags we are. And so it's like, well, yeah, I know God loves everybody, but I'm kind of a rat shit, so fossilized rat shit, and well, fossilized rat shit only deserves to like eat once a week, and for me to ask to eat every day, that's just unseemly. There's a little bit of that going on, so make sure it's not that, because as Vladimir, the Sistema guy, who's very, very good, told me when I spent some time talking with him, he goes, you need to forgive yourself. And I was like, what are you talking about, dude? You know, for what? I feel fine. He goes, He says, you know, if 3 guys walk into this office now with guns and knives and they say, oh, you got to do this, you would fight. You know, you would fight. Even if I wasn't here, you're alone, you would fight. You wouldn't back down. And I was like, yeah, maybe, you know, okay, so. He goes, yeah, but to go inside the church and get on your knees and says, please forgive me, you can't do that. Why? It's just a building. And I was like, yeah, but what am I asking forgiveness for? Like, what's it matter? Why can't you do it? You know, why is that so hard? You can't forgive yourself for what? I was like, had no answer for the guy, you know, but he like clocked me pretty quick. So make sure it's not that's like getting in your way, you know. Sylvester Rep says, hail to the community. Main goal is still to be in Italy before Christmas, mate. Enjoying the cesspit of the UK right now for work. Very good, Sylvester. That's good. You're moving around. You're doing your thing. It's, you know, it's very good. Oh, we lost 5. I'm probably rambling too much. Oh, we've been going on for over 2 hours. That's probably why. Some of you have lives. Blue Ken says, selfish things in the sense of requesting something that would be in conflict of free choice. Like, I wish X-girl loved me. It's not necessarily conflict of free choice, you know. I kind of get what you're saying. You know, you can't really wish for somebody to, you know, for God to sort of go, oh, okay, she's gonna suddenly, you know, change her mind about you, whatever. But you can just, it's very difficult to explain. I did a video on prayer, on how to do, just look at the titles. The titles of my videos usually tell you what it's about. It's like proper prayer, how to pray properly. And even when it comes to, you know, like you want to find the right wife, or maybe there's a girl you really like and she hardly knows you exist or whatever. First of all, make sure you're not some little gamma stalker, right? If there's a girl you like, go talk to her. Go ask her out. Go say something. And yeah, maybe she says, what the hell are you talking about? I got a boyfriend and, you know, he's a cool guy, not a dweeb like you, fuck off and die. Well, then you take your crushed little heart and you get up again and you go look for the next pretty girl, you know, whatever. Shit happens again. But so make sure you're not some weird little guy in the background that she doesn't even know exists, because she can't know that you exist because you're just a little weird guy in the background. So don't do that. But you know, it's you know, for example, even my relationship with my wife. I mean, I knew her since what, 2004, 6. I don't even remember. A long time ago. That's when I first met her, and it's like, you know, there was a lot of sort of seeing each other on off thing, like, oh, is this gonna go somewhere now? Half night stand type stuff. And then, you know, she always kind of had a boyfriend, I always had a girlfriend, and there was always stuff in the way. And then when most of that stuff got out of the way, I was like talking to her again and again. You know, she kind of like came close and went away, and every time she sort of did this like pull push thing, I was like, okay, just go away then, bye, you know, I'll just live my life, fuck off, sort of thing. And then she'd always come back. Sometimes it'd be like weeks, months, sometimes years. And she would like reconnect and we'd talk again and whatever. And it's like, and at one point, about probably 2016, when I was in Venice by myself, and then I had time. You know, I was working like a dog, but I had time because I was just alone. Nobody was bugging me. When I was alone at home, I was in a beautiful city, in a beautiful apartment. And I had time to think. And I was just, yeah, you know, I like her. There's a mosquito. And yeah, kind of that's cool. And we started talking, and at first it was just talking, and then we were kind of feeling similar sort of things, and she was still involved with someone, and I was like, look, don't fucking mess up your relationship because of me, because it doesn't mean if you leave that guy or whatever, that doesn't mean that will work between us or whatever, so don't do that shit. Like, if you're gonna leave that guy, that's on you. It's got nothing to do with me. Don't do stuff like that because of me. And I was interested in her and that, but I was very clear that, like, if you leave, she did leave him and whatever, and then later we got together, and it was pretty quick after that we got together, but it wasn't necessarily easy. There was all sorts of stuff going on, and there was. But all I did there was just, I didn't like necessarily chase after her or anything like that. It was just I was communicating with her, and then when she like did her like, oh, but maybe I'm not. I'm busy. I'm doing it. I was like, okay, but go do your thing. Whatever. I just stopped talking to her, and I just said, you know what? I'm just gonna be here. I'm me. I'm here, and whatever's coming to me is coming to me. And yeah, I like her. I feel like I want to be with her or whatever. But she'll come to me on her own, or she won't. That is a kind of, I don't know if prayer is the right word, but if you're doing spiritual stuff right, you don't have to chase after anything. You just, in your place, you have to do your work. You got to do stuff that, I'll communicate with her, I'll talk with her. We went out for dinner, we talked, whatever. But I wasn't like actively like chasing after. It was sort of like, well, I'm here. Now, do you want to be here? Yes or no? That's up to you. You want to come here, you got to walk all the way up here and come here. And actually that's how it ended up, because like she was still doing this, like, oh, well, we went out, we kissed, blah, blah. And then one night, randomly, she phoned me up at like past midnight, and I was like, and again, she'd done that thing, and I was like, I just didn't talk to her for like a few days or whatever. And she called me up and said, oh, listen, I don't like when, we don't talk, we're not communicating. And I was like, well, look, we've known each other for like over a decade now, on and off. The hell are you going to do? Either come and find out what this thing is between us, or don't. Like, tired of this bullshit, and I've told you that more than once. So, and she was like, well, what am I supposed to do? Just come in and move in there tomorrow? I said, yeah, why not? And she laughed, and she was like, well, think about it. Why not? It's the only way you're going to find out. And so the next day she came in, she moved in pretty much, and that was it. She didn't leave after that. That doesn't mean it was smooth sailing all the way, but, so what I'm trying to tell you is, like, don't think that you can't have something, or that you can't ask for something or help with something. That's just because you feel you're not good enough, sort of thing, Yeah, see, like, I wish I became rich with no effort, etc. Yeah, but that's not even prayer. That's just like childish wishful thinking, Sylvester, cheers, fellow Brit. Though I'm actually American in London. Well, Sylvester is not a Brit. Are you both based in London? What's up, Blue Ken? How's it over there for you? And Wooly says hi. Sylvester's in Leeds right now. It's been tough, but I've adapted, Blue Ken. Yeah, poor American in London. And he's not even a werewolf. Reference to an old film. Hi, Woolly Ram. Haven't enjoyed a stream of yours for a while. Lacking. Yeah, we should do one. VFM Bear says, stretch goal, the Kurgan's boarding school for young crusaders. Do you know what? That would be an awesome school, because there's like long range shooters, there's gun ranges around here, there's a forest you can be trained in. I am still good at teaching, martial arts. It would be an awesome school. Yes. Apparently in this country you'd have to sign all these forms, but we would do things differently. One of the first tasks that the young crusaders would do is dig a big hole, what some people would call a preemptive mass grave. They would dig a big hole, and then anybody who got hurt and then went to complain somewhere would just end up in the hole and get covered up. TVCL, Sylvester and Blue. Have you been able to attend Mass in the UK? Woolly Rams, sometimes vegans and diet obsessive should remember sooner or later your carefully fed and groomed body will become worm food. Indeed. Sylvester says, I'm moving around too much right now, so just normie cat churches for me for now. Sylvester, talk to TVCL, I think TVCL has got a, or go on the kurgan.com and go on the Sede Social, and you guys can catch up there, because there are various Sede masses around the UK, so wherever you are, you can probably get to one that's not too far from you. Blue Ken says, I'm not involved in a religion. I know, what the fuck am I doing here, right? I believe in a higher power, but I personally can't assume any road is the correct one. Blue Ken, I suggest, if you haven't read it, get Believe and read that. I know where you're coming from. Woolly Ram says, read Believe and the Gospels, and then let them marinate in your brain for a few days, or months, or years. TVCL, is either of you want to attend a Sede Mass? I would be able to help you out. Yeah, he does. TVCL knows pretty much where every Sede Mass is in Europe, I think. Blue Ken says, the core of Christianity is I mostly feel is aligned with me. There you go. Good. Blue Ken, trust me. I was a donkey that had no religion at all. Get Believe. It's like $10. I think you can even get it on Kindle. I don't remember if it's just hard paper, or I think it's on Kindle as well. Literally, it's $10. So it's like, whatever, I don't know, £7. I'm sure you can afford that. Skip a couple of, cheapo little meals or something. Sylvester, TVCL, thank you. Can I contact you? Yeah, they see you guys. I'm catching up with the chat. You're coming to the same conclusions. Michael P says, good afternoon, everyone. Hello, Michael. Step 1 to finding a wife. Work out. Michael P. Step 2, say hi. Yep. Yes. Be your better self. Get healthy, get fit, do something. It doesn't matter if you're a little hunchback. Do some martial arts. Do something. And I suggest martial arts just because it'll give you confidence. Because once you've been punched in the face 50 times, going up to a girl and saying, hey, hi, I'd like to buy a coffee, whatever, go out with you, see you. Can I talk to you? Can I give you a call? And she says, no, you dirty little hunchback. You're like, meh. I've had my teeth knocked out, my lip broken, my nose crushed. Yeah, this hurts too, but hey, I'll live. It gives you that level of, fuck it, at least I'm not getting shot, That's what you do when you're getting your nose punched in, and you're like, at least they're not stabbing me. Woolly Ram says, important to remember for emotionless autists and fiery Mediterranean Catholics. Catholicism is not about emotions and feelings. It is about the mind, about your will and intentions, about how you put all that into action. Absolutely correct. Absolutely correct. And if you're an emotionless autist, then you've got other problems, which is sometimes you can't see the things that passion allows you to see. Of course, if you're a passionate, fiery freak, that can spark off completely wrong emotions that will drive you straight to hell because, but she's really pretty. Yes, she's also a money-grabbing, crazy whore like that, what's that Amber Heard woman, apparently. She's a total psycho, which even her own sister and other people have now admit it. And, you know, it's obvious. If you have the experience of sticking your dick in crazy, I do. When you look at Amber Heard, you go like, oh, no, even I wouldn't go there. No, 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 no. Not even if she were blindfolded, didn't have my name, and couldn't do a DNA test to find out afterwards where I was. No. That level of crazy, you stay away from. But, you know, unfortunately, some people will only learn that after they've been there. So, but just because you think, oh, she was really hot, I don't particularly find Amber Heard hot at all. But I'm just saying, you know, you could be led down a really bad path just because of some emotion. And Catholicism is not about emotions. Catholicism is about logic and reason and faith. And yes, good emotions. Yes, passion is fine. Anger is fine. Justified anger is okay. But controlled by reason. Reason drives the train. Yeah. Your heart leads you, like the way I say it is like, your heart leads you on the most obscene, crazy adventures. Your brain is what you need to use to stay alive. You absolutely should follow your heart, but you have to have your brain engaged so that you can survive the crazy trips that your heart takes you on. And if you want to live like that, that is the way of the, let's say, passionate Catholic or maybe warrior type or whatever. The more reflective types think about it a lot more first and don't let their emotions drive them. If you're a guy that you know you can have passion and you can be driven by your emotions, work that brain, boy. Make sure your brain is in good working order, because you're still gonna need logic and reason to survive the crazy shit that your insane heart brings you on. It's the only way you're gonna live through it, really. Michael P says, anything else? Figure out who you are and do things you like. I'd say don't chase, do things you like. And if you see someone you like, talk to her. Yeah, that's it. It's very simple. Yep, solid advice, says Blue Ken. Woolly Ram, curriculum, Aristotelian philosophy and logic, Catholicism, martial arts, firearms, bushcraft. Yep, that's exactly what you're doing. And some of those things I wouldn't teach. There's people that are, you got to understand that what you're good at, what you're good at teaching. I'm good at teaching. I'm good at teaching one-on-one. I'm good at teaching in a class. The things that I know, I can teach you well. And there are a lot of things that I know, but the things that I can teach well are the things that I really know well. I can teach you enough about a whole bunch of other stuff that you'll be better than most. But there are people that are, like me, really good at 2, 3, 4 things, and those 2, 3, 4 things, if I know a guy that, like take whatever, let's take some, Systema or whatever. I'm good at teaching Systema. I'm better at teaching Systema than some of the guys that are better than me at doing Systema, but a lot better than me doing it Systema, but they're not better than me at teaching it. There's very few guys that are, there are guys that are better than me at teaching it and doing it, but they're very few and far between. There's not many. There's maybe a handful that I know personally. I'd say I can definitely count them on one hand. Or hypnosis. There are people that are better at teaching hypnosis than I am, but they're not better hypnotists. So sometimes you're better at teaching it than a guy who's really good at it. Sometimes you're the guy that's really good at it, but somebody else is better at teaching it. And look, I'm not slouching teaching it, but there are people that are better than me. And look, I'm talking about world-class stuff now, right? Okay, so the world-class hypnotists that I have met, worked with, learned from, there are a few of them, one of them in particular that I'm aware of, that I know, that is better at teaching it, but is not necessarily a better hypnotist than I am. So it's like, if you were going to do an academy like that, I would try and pick the guys that are the best at teaching any one of those skills. And the skills that Wooly mentioned, I'm good at all of them, but the Catholicism, the That would be probably my weakest one. The not the theology of it, but the practicalities of it. I'd want my battle priest. He'd be the dude to teach you that. He's like awesome. Red Pill says, Kurgan, catch you next time. Gonna check out the dark stream. I'll keep you and your family in prayers. God bless. Thank you very much, Red Pill. Very much appreciated. Willie Ram, I was a stray alley cat, Blue. If God can reach me, he can reach anyone. Indeed. If he reached me, he can reach anyone. TVCL says, God has very long arms. Yep. Willie Ram, a past friend of mine, who is barely 160 meters short, worked out, got fit, got a good job, married a green-eyed Russian vixen. There you go. If he can do it, so can you. Good night, Red Pill. Indeed, yeah. Sylvester Rep had a decent Systema teacher, but normie IQ, so couldn't go very deep. Get what you can from whoever, you know. It is what it is. Blue Ken says, what is the use of hypnosis? Many uses. Almost everything is hypnosis. If you're watching TV and you're getting hypnotized. If you're reading a newspaper, you're getting hypnotized. If you understand how your brain works, you can preempt certain things from happening to you, or certain thoughts being implanted in your head that you're not even aware has been done. You know, and you can get a much deeper appreciation of the human mind, of spirituality, of neurology. And these are all important things. Neurology is important for martial arts. Neurology is important for religion. Neurology is important for understanding the difference between passion, logic, reason, faith, and all sorts of things. It's a very profound science, if done correctly, with deep elements of art, because you need to have a certain level of instinct about certain things in order to be a good hypnotist, which is unavoidable. Chad says, good teachers can look at something as a beginner. Experts are often bad at that and want to start high level. Yeah, it's true. Sylvester says, I have the same attitude. Get what you can and be grateful. That's it. And you know what? Almost everybody can teach you something. I remember one of the first times I learned that in karate was this idiot who was like a brown belt, but you know, he was trying to lord it over the lower belts, which is stupid because a brown belt is a no one. And he was a brown belt for years and whatever, and eventually I overtook him, you know, and I started out, I don't know, it was like a little yellow belt or something, a green belt. And he was like, you do that, you know, was trying to, like, I wouldn't say bully me, but he was like, you have to do this, you have to do that. And I was like, look at this fucking idiot, you know, it doesn't matter that I'm a green belt. I could kick his ass all around the room if I wanted to. And I was like, you know, he's just a dick. And he's stupid. He's not even smart. He's not saying anything intelligent. He's not, you know. And I just thought, you know what? It's not the point. It doesn't matter. Let this idiot tell you what to do and, you know, whatever, clean the floor. And I'm just going to clean the floor. I'll just do it. Because it's not about him. It's about me and my ego and whatever. So what? Am I unable to let a stupid guy tell me to clean the floor? The floor needs cleaning anyway. It doesn't matter that he's telling me to do it when it's already been done. Or, you know, it's not my turn to do it or whatever. It doesn't matter. Just keep quiet and do it. And I learned so much from that point because I thought, that's amazing. I'm actually learning something, not because he's teaching me anything, not because he's given me an insight, but because I am using the fact that he's being an idiot, and I'm like, yeah, just roll with it. That's teaching me something. So even an idiot can help you learn something. It's amazing. You know, and if you have that kind of attitude, then go. It's very useful. Blue Cane says, okay, I didn't look at it from that angle. Well, you wouldn't be able to look at it from that angle because you didn't know what it's about. So, Wally Ram says, speaking of battle priests, I recently heard of a CMRI convert priest who started out in the traditional Novus Ordo. He now covers states, supplying the sacraments to 12 communities. Good. You know, there are some Novus Ordo priests which possibly have just been fooled, have been lied to, and they bought into it. I think it's possible. I'd be very, you know, I'd want to waterboard them for a little while and find out exactly where they're coming from. But yeah. Pedro Rocha, well, it has been nice being here. I'll be going now. See you all next time. And thanks for the stream, Mr. Kurgan. Good night at all. Peace. Good night, Pedro. Thank you for being here. Blue Ken, I didn't consider the subliminal influences as hypnosis from media. Oh, it is. It's absolutely. You don't realize, but, you know, essentially every time, even this, now I'm talking to you guys, and I'm not trying to hypnotize anybody. The way that you perceive the world, it can alter your neurology, and in some cases permanently. Now, if you go on my blog and you look through it or whatever, you'll find, you know, I'm one of probably the few people on earth that has read just about everything that Milton Erickson has written at any point in time. I've read over, you know, 20,000 pages of his stuff at 8 hours a day for like 4 or 5 months in a row. So, and I learned how to do Ericksonian hypnosis by learning about Erickson, by reading what he wrote, and by, you know, understanding at a very deep level what he was actually doing. And then I met this girl that I saw for a little while, and first day we met, first time I met her, like we literally had a date. We went out for drink or dinner, I can't remember. And then we sat on a park bench for a bit, and then eventually she came home with me. But the thing is, she was a smoker, and I said, "Oh, you smoke?" She goes, "Yeah, I kind of want to stop, sort of, but I don't really know. You know, I've been doing it a long time, so I'm not going to stop," and whatever. And we just had a conversation, and I did Ericksonian hypnosis on her while we were having a conversation. So she, you know, she spent the night and whatever. Then the next day she went to work, and then she sent me a text. She was like, "What the hell did you do to me? I've tried to smoke 3 times today and I can't smoke. I've like stopped smoking." And I was like, "Well, is that a problem for you? Is it a bad thing that you can't smoke?" And she was like, "No." And she actually called me after the text. She called me, and I was like, "Okay, so is that a problem? Is that a bad thing now that you can't smoke, that you don't want to smoke anymore?" She's like, "No, actually, yeah, it's a good thing." I'm like, "Okay, you're welcome." You know, so if you're good at it, if you know what you're doing, and, you know, it wasn't unethical what I did, because she mentioned she wanted to stop smoking, and I thought, okay, I'll help her. And there's no point in me, I didn't want to tell her, "Oh, I'm a hypnotist," and all that bullshit. I just thought, no, I'll just discuss it with her and whatever, and it's done. And, you know, when it comes to smoking, I've never failed yet. I had one guy who stopped smoking for 3 months, and then he started again, and I was like, "Oh, why did you start?" And he was like, "No, it's got nothing to do. Your hypnosis worked. I just wanted to smoke again. I just thought, nah, fuck it. I actually like smoking, even though it's bad for my health and whatever. I'm gonna do it again." So he like was complete non-smoker for 3 months, which is long enough to know that it's not a physiological thing. And then he made a choice that he wanted to smoke again for whatever reason, and that's as close to failure as I've had with cigarettes. I've had people that went to like hypnotists 15 times or whatever, and it never worked. And then I did one session with them of 45 minutes, and they stopped smoking for life. So, you know, hypnosis is very powerful if you know what you're doing. But I also believe that in order to do hypnosis properly, you have to understand the ethical dimensions behind it, and you can't fuck around with that, because I wouldn't want to. I mean, you can fuck around with it. You know, there are streamers that pretend to be farmers that kind of do that shit, but I wouldn't do that, because aside from the fact that it's unethical and it's bad for the other person and whatever, it would be bad for me. I believe ultimately I'd be judged for that or whatever, and so not just judged, but there's a consequence. It's just bad shit, you know. It's like I wouldn't fucking steal money from a child either. I wouldn't do it. I don't care if I'm starving. I'm not gonna fucking do that, you know. That's if you've got that level of understanding, then I think you can be a pretty decent hypnotist. So Woolly Ram says, "Try going a week without social media, news, modern music." Yeah, you know, I've done that a lot in my life. Like even now, sometimes I just walk off into the fields like to do work, and I don't take my phones or anything with me. Like people are like, oh, I tried to call you. I'm like, yeah, I was working in the field. Fuck you. I've never watched. I haven't read a newspaper or watched a news program since 2008, and I don't miss it at all. Um, I can go. I learned this when I was doing a Systema seminar, weirdly enough, in Germany. And it was a bad time. I was going through my first divorce, and it was just bad all around. Work was hell, and I was all on my own. Like I wasn't hanging out with any of the other guys. I just went to train, and that's it. And I was like in this little stupid, crappy Germanish sort of restaurant, and like the food was shit, and my phone died, and I was like, oh fuck, I don't even have I can't even send a text to a friend, and I felt a bit like lonely and and I was like a little bit of anxiety. I was like, wait, what is that? Oh, that's kind of anxiety. Like, oh, what the fuck? For my phone. I mean, I grew up in fucking Africa where you were driving. Sometimes I was driving for like 2 days. We didn't have cell phones, didn't have shit. Nobody would know if you crashed the car and died. No one would know for like months probably. And I was like, fuck that. What kind of a weak little bitch have I become that I'm like, oh, well, I can't text somebody. Oh, fuck that shit. So since then, I've been like, nah, I don't, they're useful tools, but, fuck that. I'm not going to get hooked up on any of this shit. And Sylvester says, exactly, terrible inputs can teach you a lot internally. If you're smart enough to understand that it's a, terrible input, because if you take the terrible input as being true or good, then, that'll mess you up. Wooly says, you'll be amazed at how your perspective shifts. Yeah, absolutely. Speaking of smoking, have you read any of the Easy Method books? It's how I stopped smoking. No, I haven't. Those books work for quite a lot of people. There's also like CDs about hypnosis that work for a lot of people. But in my personal opinion, most of those products are absolute shit. That's not to say they don't necessarily work, but let's say if I was going to give it marks out of 100, and I've listened to some of these CDs and some of these books and whatever, as a hypnotist that knows what he's doing, I'd give those things like, you got a 25% mark out of 100, if that. And some of them I'd actually wouldn't even rate at all, because they make fundamental errors that could really screw somebody up. Again, it's like, say if you're a guy that's doing karate that watches a dojo kumite where one guy just like tries to do a stamp kick on the knee of another guy. Yeah, it's a thing, it's a technique, but you don't do that to your like mate in a fucking dojo. That's just wrong. I'd disqualify that guy from the fight, or I'd give him a beating so that he learns how to behave better. So, Blue Ken says, Big Bear who? If anyone is a prime example of scammer, it's Owen. Yeah, like I said, I don't follow the guy, but people tell me stuff, and reliable people that I know, and yeah, it's bad. Yeah. Sylvester says, yep, sounds like Germany. Very good. Wooly says, Owen gives bears a bad name. They're one of God's coolest creatures, below the common snail, of course. The actual bears themselves are pretty decent people. Like, Social Galactic is populated up by quite a lot of them. And I think a lot of them have sort of seen through Owen now. But generally speaking, the bears are like, good, friendly, maybe a little bit naive, like positive. Yeah, let's be the good guys kind of guys. And I just feel bad for the ones that have been sort of taken in by like bullshit, Sylvester says, that hypnosis need to be reactive, or is a good recording enough? A live hypnosis session with a good hypnotist is always going to be superior. But it depends on you and depends on the recording. Personally, I don't really rate recordings because they're just, it's like a one size fits all, and hypnosis is absolutely the opposite of that. Hypnosis is absolutely bespoke, one size fits one person only on the planet in that specific way and no one else, because every human being is completely unique. So trying to create a product that's a one size fits all is either going to be bland, it's going to be somewhat ineffective, it potentially could be harmful for certain people, especially if you're not a particularly good hypnotist and you don't understand some very fundamental concepts that are very, very deep, and you use bad language in a weird context or something, and you'll be surprised at how many hypnotists haven't got a clue about this. So for me, a recording would be, if it's a recording that was done by a hypnotist that knows you, that's worked with you for you, okay, maybe, I would still give that like an 80, 85, maybe 90% maximum, because even you are not you today, you're you. Tomorrow, you're a different you. Very similar you, but you'll have changed some little thing. And maybe if something's happened, you've had a drink, or you fought with your girlfriend, you got a new girlfriend, you got 3 girlfriends, whatever, your situation, your neurology is going to be different, and you need a different thing on that day, at that time, in that moment. So even the CD that was done just for you is going to work for you 80% of the time, maybe 90% of the time, but it won't work for you 100% of the time, or it won't work 100% for you all the time. It might work 100% for you one time, 2 times, So I would suggest, if you're, I'm going to do a hypnosis series. It's one of the things I'm going to do in the Kurgan, and it's going to be a teaching series as well. So it's going to start off properly. I'm going to try and actually, I might put it on another platform, just because I don't want people to go to like part 3 if they have not done part 1 and part 2. Because if you try and do part 3 without having done part 1 and part 2, you're going to mess yourself up, you're going to mess others up, you're going to do stupid shit. So you need to do this in stages. But yeah. Spectrum of effectiveness, of course, no binary thinking allowed. Yes, of course, yeah, you get it, Willie Ram, speaking of Owen, do you think he was just too deeply damaged by Molochwood? Was he at any point salvageable? I don't know the guy that well, really. I mean, I met him once briefly. And initially, he seemed like a pretty okay guy. To me, he seemed like a pretty simple-minded sort of, okay, this is cool, let's go along with it. Oh, everybody says this is cool, so yeah, let's do that. And then somewhere along the line, in whatever way, he got it into his head that he was better than the other guys, and he started to just make shit up in his own mind about how good he is and how clever he is and how smart he is and how better. And I think he went to his own head. I think that's what I think. I think his own ego has just eaten him alive, basically. He's one of those guys that has done a few things that maybe a lot of people haven't done. And so for you Americans, forgive me, I'm not speaking about you specifically, but it's a very American thing. It's like, well, I've played chess with like a guy who was number 90. Well, he was like number 279 in the World Chess Series, and I've played with him once when he was drunk, and I won. So I'm a really good chess player, and like, I'm the best chess player. I'm the best chess player in any room. And then like, a guy like me comes along, plays chess with him, kicks his ass 7 times in a row. Or a guy like one of the henchmen who's like half my age, and he kicked my ass quite a lot of times. And then I worked, I was rusty. I hadn't played chess in a long, long time. And at first he kicked my ass a lot, and then I caught up with him, and then it was like, now we're even. I was like, okay, now we play Go, Japanese chess. And I've given him like more than 9, 10 handicaps, and he's like, he still gets his ass kicked. He hasn't won a single game. And it's a very American thing. Oh, I won that game, so I'm really good. I've done this. I've been on TV, so I'm famous. I'm cool. I'm great. No, you're just a dick who's been on TV. You're just a fucking idiot who like won one chess game once. You're nothing. There's got to be a million people out there that are better than you and don't even fucking say anything. So, And then he build, you know, if you end up only in your own head and you're only in your little own echo chamber, and that's it. And then maybe 1 or 2 or 3 people feed into it, and they're like, oh yeah, you're the coolest. Then it becomes a self-fulfilling, you know, idiot guru type thing. That's my take on it, for what it's worth. And Blue Can says, well, he says truth with mix of begging and the absurd. Yeah, but, you know, again, how much sewage do you want in your ice cream before you're not going to eat it? You know, a guy that mixes truth with absurd and bullshit and lies and con men, I don't want to know anything. I mean, fuck off. Well, you know, I only farted on your ice cream. It was really right next to my naked butthole, and I just farted. You know, it wasn't sewage, it was just a fart. Maybe a tiny little droplet went on it, but it's still good ice cream. Look, it looks clean, looks white, see no brown spots. You gonna eat it? Not me. No, thank you. So, yeah. Sylvester says, right, I got it. Cheers. Yep, I know you do. You're a smart boy. Wooly Ram says, yeah, drinking resurfaces some old alley cat modes of thought. Yeah. The lack of Catholic confessors and spiritual instruction is painfully evident, indeed. And Sylvester says, Roosh talked about that live streaming fed his pride too much. Similar thing, probably. Roosh is a different beast altogether. I went to see one of Roosh's seminars in London, I don't know how many years ago. You know, I've got weird hobbies. I'm upfront about it. I've always said it. I've gone to all sorts of cults, brainwashing type seminars, pickup artist seminars, fucking firewalking seminars, because it's a curiosity. It's a like, okay, what are these fucking people doing? You know, what is this scam here? What is the angle? Is there any of this shit real? Is it all bullshit? And it started a long time ago. I went to like a whole bunch of Dianetics, you know, like L. Ron Hubbard freaks, and eventually just laughed in their face and walked off because their hypnosis didn't work on me. I'm one of those people there's a tiny percentage of people, about 1%. Some people say 1, maybe 2. It's no more than 2% at most, that are almost impossible to hypnotize, unless they let you, unless they choose to be hypnotized. And I'm one of them. Just, I think the Asperger's has something to do with it, whatever. But as a result of that, I can see through bullshit like a mile away. And it's just kind of funny. It's interesting to me. I sort of, because I'm probably an Aspie, I study humans. You know, I look at them and I'm like, oh, look at all these lemmings. What are they doing? Are they rabbits? Are they lemmings? Are they really jumping off a cliff? Oh, no, they're not. It's just some guy pushing them off. Oh, who's the guy pushing them off? Oh, it's this guy calling himself a guru. Oh, well, what's he doing? You know, and I've gone to these seminars where there's like 3,000, I'm not exaggerating, there's over 3,000 people sitting down listening to this guru, and I'll make the guru pay attention to me and fuck up his whole little narrative. And I've been able to do that because of hypnosis, because I know how to do this stuff. And, you know, sometimes I just do it to entertain myself. And this guy's talking a lot of shit and he's lying to a lot of people. So I'm just going to fuck his day up, you know, in a way that's funny for everybody else. And I have done that. And so I forgot what was I going to say? Oh, Roosh, right. So I went to one of Roosh's seminars, and again, I like the guy. He's a nice guy. He's trying to be good. I'm not, you know, disparaging him. I don't want to badmouth him or anything like that. I'm just giving you my honest impression. Roosh is a guy who he's got a speech impediment. He stammers. He sometimes can't speak properly. He obviously was not very confident. And he thought that his way of becoming confident was to bang a lot of girls. I don't think he's actually banged that many girls. The level of girls that he has banged were the kind of half-drunk random chicks that you can get pretty much, that anybody can bang if that's what they want to do. And even then, I don't think he had any intimacy with them, because he wasn't. He is so self-centered. He's so worried about himself and how he is, and is he doing this correct? Is he doing that correct? and he's trying to be the guru, when really internally he was empty, you know. And in this seminar, that all the people that were like listening were like, oh, he's a pickup artist, oh, he knows. And I was just sitting there like, you got to keep in mind that, you know, long before the game came out, or, you know, the book The Game, that was written by the I forget his name, the guy that was the little Jewish guy that was like following mystery around or whatever. Anyway, I was going to, you know, I had my Russian friends, I was training like regularly and whatever, and sometimes, you know, I'd been in that space for where I just thought, oh, screw it, I'm not built for relationships. And I'd have a random different hot girl come to pick me up or meet me after training, or even sit there and watch the class, you know, and it's distracting everybody else because they were like dressed sexy or something. And it happened a lot, you know. I mean, like, people noticed, like the guys in my building, like once stopped me and was like, dude, what the hell are you doing? You've got a different hot girl every couple of days. I haven't had a date in a year. I haven't had sex in over a year. Please, can you teach me? You know, this was a random guy in my building. You know, it just happened. Like, the reason I found out about pickup artists is because after training, one of the guys goes, fuck, man, you've got like some hot chick with you all the time. Like, you should, have you read The Game? I'm like, what are you talking about? What is that? Oh, it's a book about how to pick up chicks. I'm like, well, fuck it, I don't need that. No, but you should read it. You should write a book like this. And he gave me this book and I read it and I was like, these guys are fucking losers. You know, this is bullshit. This is nonsense. And I'm not saying that those guys are not necessarily getting laid, but to give you an idea, one of the so-called pickup artists was this Polish guy called Michał. And I looked into him, you know, because I'm curious. I'm like, what is this bullshit? I looked into this guy, like, I dug into his shit. He spent over $500,000 of daddy's money, because in order to be a pickup artist, you either have to bullshit really well or you have to be funded, because most of these guys are on the breadline. So his daddy was rich. He didn't really have to work. He was in IT. He was an IT geek. He spent $500,000 of daddy's money launching his like pickup artist empire, where he produced books and he sold seminars at $1,000, $2 each, whatever. And he had this like hot girlfriend that had like huge giant fake tits and was like, you know, his like little advertiser or whatever. And she was older than him, and then she kind of dropped him, and he was like, oh, well, we decided to go our separate ways. Anyway, in 10 years, this guy spent $500,000 of daddy's money to sleep with 30 or 40 women. And he said, oh, I've slept with about maybe between 30 and 40 women, which means 25, you know, because that's the kind of guy he was. I mean, just do the maths, okay? Let's say it was 50 women. It wasn't. By his own admission, it wasn't. But let's say it was 50. Okay, $500,000. Yeah. That's 5 followed by 5 zeros. Divide by 50. Okay, so it's now $100,000 divided by 10. You drop a 0. Okay. So you've now got a 1 followed by 4 zeros. That's $10,000. So you could pay women $10,000 to have sex with you, and you could do that into $500,000, one a day, for 50 days. You'd spend the same amount of money, and you'd save more than 9.5 years of your time. Yeah. And I'm pretty sure that, you know, at $5,000, you could still sleep with 50 women within 50 days. And I'm not talking about calling up an escort agency. I'm talking about you walk into a bar and you say, I've got $5,000 here. I know you're not a prostitute, but you look really hot. I want to bang the crap out of you for about 3 hours. Here's $5,000. Would you do it? You're going to get slapped by a couple of girls. You're going to get a couple of drinks thrown in your face, maybe. But probably not even that. And I guarantee you that within 50 days you will have slept with 50 women. Okay, so that's the level of pickup artist you were talking about. Now, Roosh was a guy that was not self-confident, that wasn't, you know, that he thought, oh, well, if I bang enough women, but he was so insulated in his own mind. You know, there is a certain truth that if you're a guy and you sleep with a lot of women, you become very confident, because you're like, well, you know, I got to a point where I was like, well, I can keep doing this and banging a random chick every couple of days, or maybe I can find one, settle down, try to build a family, try to do something different, you know, do something a bit more complicated. And in that whole seminar, like Rush was saying, oh, well, you know, the thing is, if you're a 7 or if you're a 6, you can't get a 10. You can't, you know, you got to know your limitation. It's just 1 or 2 points above you. If you're like a 7, you can only have like an 8 maybe, but then it's really tough to hold that relationship. I was like, fuck, I was looking around. At this point, I was bored listening to him. He had nothing interesting anymore to say. And I was looking around and I saw this other bald guy with a broken nose, you know, flat nose, like chewed up little ear. I thought, yeah, he's a boxer or a wrestler or something. And he, you know, we kind of caught each other's eye and we're just like, the fuck is this guy talking about? And I went to talk to him and I said, so you think that's bullshit too, huh? And he goes, yeah, it's fucking bullshit. I mean, look at me. I got a broken nose. That, you know, and then when we walked out, I was like, yeah, that's my girlfriend. I was like, yeah, good. I get it. You know, he was obviously with a girl that she wasn't everybody's 10. She wasn't necessarily my 10, but she was his 10 and she was definitely a 9, you know. And he wasn't a great looker or anything. And I was like, yeah, it doesn't fucking matter, you know. A guy, if he's got the right attitude, can pretty much with whatever number woman, you know. And it's like the fact that he was this huge guru pickup artist and he didn't know that. It was like, what the hell is... And then I just saw how his whole interaction was, you know, as a guy who's actually sort of been there, done that, you can recognize, you know, it's like anything. If you're the best guy at, I don't know, fucking shooting or throwing knives or, you know, using a, what do you call a catapult. Let's say you're the catapult guy. You know, you can shoot with a catapult since you were a kid. And you see the world champions of catapult shooting and you see him shoot and you know that he's worse than you. And you're not a world champion catapult guy. You're just a guy that's been shooting with a catapult, you know, built out of rubber tires and whatever since you're 5. And you're thinking, man, with that catapult, I can do 3 times what he does in like half the time. That's what I'm saying. You know, that was the level of thing. So, you know, Rush wasn't what I'd call a pickup guru. You know, there are guys that were good, but again, they were, it wasn't like their thing. A guy called Hypnotica who, you know, he owned or he was a part owner of a strip club. So, you know, how hard is it to bang strippers if you own a stripping club? But he was, you know, he was a guy that kind of knew what he was doing in the pickup artist scene. And, you know, he kind of knew what he was doing in the hypnosis scene as well. He was good. He was good at hypnosis, but he used it in a way that I don't think was necessarily, you know, good. And then you go down a road of degeneracy. I don't know. I didn't keep up what he was doing for, you know, over a decade now. So I don't know what he ended up doing. I think he got married at some point. So maybe chilled out. I don't know. But, you know, the thing is, what was the question again? Let me see. Oh yeah, the Sylvester saying we talked about that live stream in Fetish Pride. So, yeah, so I think Rush got to the point where like, well, I'm selling books about banging random chicks in different countries. I must be the guy. I'm the guy. I'm the guy. And it's like, but internally, on some level, he knows he's not the guy. So it's like, it's kind of fake, you know, and he doesn't feel happy with himself and whatever. You know, I wasn't trying to achieve anything. I wasn't trying to prove anything. I wasn't trying to be a guru about banging girls or whatever. I was just living my life. And I was like, fuck it. I don't want to deal with any of that bullshit anymore. And as soon as they give me 5 minutes of shit, I'm like, yeah, you're out the door. Bye. Next. And I lived like that for a while. And that was it, you know. And I've never thought I was particularly handsome or whatever. Or, you know, but I'm not scared. I'll just be like, well, I like you. Do you want to go for a drink? Do you want to go for coffee? Do you want to come to my bedroom? Whatever. You know, it's like, I'm not much for small talk either. So, but you do that and then you start to see, oh, well, you know, there's nothing particularly difficult about it. It's like anything. You know, you enter into a martial art class and you think, oh, this guy can kick my ass. But if you stay in that martial art class for 5 years, well, guess what? You know, you become pretty good. So it's like anything. Wooly says there is always a bigger, younger, hungrier fish in the sea. I worked for a while in a falafel joint. Thank God for forgetfulness, otherwise I would eat nothing I haven't prepared myself. Indeed. Current Rouge is interesting. Filthy schismatic, but interesting nonetheless. Yeah, he's become more interesting since he's gone, schismatic. Age in the Sun. Hello, sir. Rouge is okay, but immature. Yes, he's never been married and dealt with kids or a household, so he's more for younger people. Yes, and he's sort of also leading them down the wrong path because he's become so like, oh, you can't hug a woman. Oh, you can't do this. Oh, you can't watch. So he's gone back to his real roots. He's an Armenian, and they are pretty much a puritanical, narrow-minded, dense, kind of stubborn people. And that's what he's doing now. He's just gone from this thing to like, I'm the guru. Or like, oh no, I'm not the guru. Okay, then I've got to be the best monk. Kind of. It's extreme and wrong, really. It's amazing what effect hot women have on most men. Yeah, it's true. I remember I studied tango for a very brief period of time. And tango is very interesting, actually. I would love to have the time to learn it properly. And I never did. I only went for a few lessons or whatever. But I had a pretty good teacher, an Argentinian guy or Colombian, I can't remember. And he was like, look, you have to learn how to do the steps now, away from everybody. Just do the steps. Because when you have a woman, and especially if she's pretty and she's hot, you know how our human male brain works? You can't think anymore. So your body has to learn to do it without you being able to think, because now she's there, she's got perfume, she looks hot, she's half dressed, and you're going to screw up the steps. So you've got to do the steps without the woman first. And tango is beautiful because I would say tango is like, I would say it's as intimate as having sex, but like with your clothes on and you're vertical, basically. And intimate in the nice way, not in the twisted, perverted way. And if a woman is a good dancer, that it's beautiful because the relationship also, so the man leads. But if the woman is a better dancer than the man, the woman covers up the mistakes of the man. That's what the woman does. It's amazing. And if the man is better, the woman just lets him move her around, and she doesn't even have to almost know how to dance. She can just look good because he makes her look good. And if he's not good, she can make him look a lot better than what he really is. So it's a beautiful, it's really awesome. But yeah, that's what the tango guy was saying. He was saying, look, when a woman comes near you, if she's hot and you're attracted to her, you can't think anymore. Your brain just goes for shit. And it's essentially true. I mean, the thing that changes is that if you've been very intimate with a lot of beautiful women, like anything, you get a little bit desensitized to the point where you can actually like, yeah, she's super hot, and oh, she's doing that thing to me now, and oh, I really like that, and she's but there's the red flag there, there's the red flag there, oh, and she didn't do that thing, and she did that thing, and yeah, I'm on to you, lady. See, Johnny Depp, for all his money, wealth, and whatever, couldn't see that one coming. As the old saying goes, I wouldn't do her with someone else's dick. It's like, but that only comes with experience of a sort of degenerate nature, I suppose, but it is what it is. That sort of money would buy you hundreds of top-tier whores. Yeah, exactly. If you're going to spend 500 grand and 10 years to bang 50 chicks, why? You could spend a tenth of that money, that's 50 grand, in 50 days, and you'd have learned a lot more about women, in that period of time. But that's what I'm saying. That's what pickup artists are. It's a scam. They're idiots. They're people that, like, I don't know. It's the fakeness of it that irritates me. It's the bullshit. It's like, oh, look at me. I'm like, look, if you want to better yourself, you want to get a hot-looking wife, and you want to get a good girlfriend, whatever, I get it. You're going to do work on yourself and whatever. Okay. But the minute you try and, like, say, well, this is how you got to do it, and I'm gonna sell it to you like that. And it's not, you know, two guys talking. Like, you get like that, people like that. You know, you get a friend that is like, maybe he's not that good, he's not that confident, he's not that handsome, whatever, and he says, man, you know, I really wish you know, what do I do? I don't know what to say. You know, what do I say to that girl? She's really hot, and I'm scared she's just gonna shoot me down. And so you give him a bit of advice, or you help him out, or you like just go, let's go talk to her together. I'll talk to her friend, you know, whatever. That's different. That's like just friends, you know, it's just buddies, like helping each other out, whatever. But the minute you start trying to tell, like, it's not even like, you know, if you're going to write a book on relationships, okay, fine, you know, or you write a book about like human male brain and female brain, how they interact, okay, that's doing something. But like telling you, oh, and you've got to have this little script that you say, and that'll get you laid, you know, it's so fucking retarded. It just irritates me. Blue Ken says, in real life, I'm terrible at picking up women. I use dating apps and it works great. Once I get them one-on-one, I do well. Well, there you go. You know, there's nothing wrong with that. And if you do, look, I know, whatever, you know, no sex before marriage and all that, but like I always say, this is not good Catholic advice. It's not what a priest would tell you, whatever, but we're in a broken world, and I've got no problem using the enemy's systems against him. You know, if I can take some, you know, if you're a 20-year-old guy, whatever, 25-year-old guy, who takes some secular chick that's bought into all the feminism bullshit, but she's still like young enough that you can twist her back around and get her to be a good Catholic girl, and you have to bang her first for a year or whatever to get her there, I consider that a win. Yeah, okay, if you get hit by a bus before that, oh, well, you're in trouble, but it's your intention that matters, right? That's what I think. So the thing is that if you have got enough of a experience with a lot, you know, with different women one-on-one, then it's the same thing. When you say, oh, picking up, what does that mean? Well, you see a pretty girl in a bar. Well, what's so difficult? You know, you just walk up there and you say, oh, you know, I've done that. I've gone up to girls and I didn't even care if they had a boyfriend there or not. I didn't bother finding out. Just go up there and say, hey, hi, I'd like to see you sometime. You know, can we talk a bit and whatever? Maybe she's like, oh, well, I've got a boyfriend. I'm like, it's all right. I'm not jealous. It's okay. We're not doing anything yet, you know. Just ask you out for coffee. You want to go? You know what? Half the time they'll say yes, just because they're like, no one does it. You know, a woman is sitting there. She's kind of cool. She's with her friends, whatever. I've done that, like gaggles of women. You know, like the pickup artists tell you, oh, you got to separate them from the herd, blah blah blah. Bullshit. I have literally walked into groups of women and sort of like, I like you. I really think you're hot. Can I give you my number? And then that way you got my number. If you want to get a hold of me, you call me. If you don't, you don't. No problem. And sometimes they'll say, oh, but I got a boyfriend or whatever. And I'm like, I don't care. You know, maybe you'll break up with him. Who knows? Maybe you won't. Maybe you'll call me. Maybe you won't. But let's see. And if you're not scared, if you're not doing that sort of like, okay, I'm just going to, but you actually just do it because that's what you want to do. I'm telling you, more than half the time it works out all right, you know. So, but it's, you know, women have got a pretty good bullshit detector, so you can't really fake it. It's the same thing like the guy who's like, I'm a special ops guy because I've been to the training. I'm special ops. You know, it's like, you're not, dude. You could have done all the training in the world, but you're nervous, you're scared, you're going to freak out. And I can see you're not going to shoot straight, and you're not going to pull that out before I take it off you. So, you know, so you can't fake it. It's got to be there from experience, but the only way you get experience is by doing it. It's like walking, right? You just get up one day and so you're like, hey, I'm walking, motherfucker. No, you tripped, you fell, bumped your head, you know. Eventually you walk. Yeah, Wooly says, yeah, once you get a girl out of her herd, you two can actually converse and relate. Yeah, but the thing is, if you know what you're doing, you can actually use the herd, you know, to do whatever. But because, like I said, I have done that. I walked up to like a group of women and sort of go, you look really pretty, you know, I'd like to get to know you. I know you're here with all your friends, and they're all going to tell you this weirdo stalker, weird guy, look, and he's bald, he doesn't even have any hair, you know. But I'm only a psycho in the bedroom. You know, I'm good everywhere else. You know, it's okay. So as long as you don't get tied up, you're fine. You're good. You know, we can have a drink, you can have coffee, and they'll laugh and they'll make a joke, and then there'll be the fat, ugly friend that tries to cock block you and sort of, and you learn to play with all that stuff. And you know, some people are like, oh, but you know, it's a friend. I've done it where I'm just like, hey, listen, stop cock blocking, okay? She's prettier than you. I like her more. Stop getting in the way. If she doesn't want to talk to me, she'll tell me she doesn't want to talk to me. Now, because I've been a bit rude to you, because you've been rude to me, she might tell me she doesn't want to talk to me. But you can see, she's still looking at me right now, and she hasn't interrupted yet. So she's probably going to tell me to fuck off now because I've been rude to you, her uglier friend. You know, it's you don't have to do this pickup artist bullshit. Just go there, talk, do your thing, you know, whatever. If you fuck it up 50 times in a row. The 51st time you'll have learned something, you know. It's not that difficult. It's not, you know, don't worry about it. Sylvester Rep says, great analysis, pins down his right to meet people organically online. You have far less control over how people see or respond to you. At least I can't communicate properly online. In ballroom dancing, i.e. waltz, foxtrot, tango, samba, etc., the male-female dynamic is quite archetypal of a male-female relationship. It is. The man is there to frame the woman's beauty. The man leads. A good partner makes the whole dynamic much easier. If you find a good partner, dancing is really fun. Yeah, it is, and quite beautiful. It is. And Blue Ken says, I go with a volume approach. I juggle as many as I can and set up dates, and when one works out, I ghost everyone else. Yeah, been there, done that, dude. We can see anybody through, mate. Woolly Ram, no way to church it up, but working the right shift at clubs 24/7, shops and the like gives a bottom-up view of humanity. Yeah, it does. Indeed. Woolly says, if your intent is to find a wife, worthy woman, and you do not live in a city community, converting a heathen woman is the only viable option. Yes, and it's not easy. It's, you know, it's not easy. It takes a lot of time, a lot of effort. But what are your options? I have a boyfriend is the single woman's first line of defense. Meh. Sometimes they just have a boyfriend, you know. Michael P says, whenever you talk to women, just talk to them like real people. Find out if she's cool. If she is, go for it. Don't expect anything. And if she doesn't want to talk, maybe she's having a bad day. People are just like you. Their own motivations and expectations. Yeah. I'm off for the night. Good stream. God bless. Well, guys, I've been going for over 3 hours, so it's very late. But thank you all for being here. That was unexpected. That so many turned up. So very loyal, good city boys and girls. I'll try and stream again sometime soon. Hopefully, it won't be months the next time I do it. But this was a fat, long one, so I hope it holds you over. I'm gonna say good night to all of you. Thank you. Nice to see you all so much, and good that the 2 lurkers or 3 lurkers have spoken up. So good of you guys. It's nice to meet new people. Good night all, and God keep and bless you, every one of you.